So we don't have to keep any of this, but just so that we can.
Well, let's take 1 second to
Sure.
just intentionally hold for room tone and let's see if we can catch that bird. All right.
Do we manage to get room tone?
Yeah, I mean, we stayed quiet and recorded the room, so.
Okay, good, good. We've discovered that Bushy likes to go outside, like on a leash.
Oh, really?
Um,
I wouldn't have expected that from her.
no, and she hopped up on the little brick ledge, and the
Mhm.
bird saw it and was pissed.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's not a thing that
um,
would end very well.
no. So since it's been a minute since we've recorded, uh, I'm just gonna rant about a topic to kind of get back into it.
Sure, yeah.
My bones hurt and I can't breathe.
Fucking tell me about it.
Yeah. Um, have you ever heard of a book called, and I think it's called On the Beach?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
It's something beach.
I don't really know anything about it.
It was written during the Cold War, um, and it's about this like U.S. naval ship that's docked in Australia,
Okay.
and they explain it really well in the book. That like a certain part of the world has basically like a nuclear war, and Australia is the last place that will be ruined because of currents and airflow and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Um, so I was excited to read this book because I thought it was going to be like a thriller, kind of really exciting. It's not. It's not that they have to wait. They can't go anywhere because if they go anywhere, they'll be you know killed by the
Okay.
radiation. But they are waiting long enough that like the fear just becomes part of the regular life. So they just kind of
Oh
like
God.
they're like, oh, we have like a year and some change, so we'll just do
Mm.
some stuff. So I was thinking about that as I often do. Uh,
And then decided to watch Plague Dogs.
no, 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 no. That's a different part of my brain.
That's fair. Okay.
Um, the part that watches animals being tortured.
Yeah. You have mentioned you've been doing better lately, so.
Yeah, yeah. I've been watching this movie we're covering today on like 15 different versions. But I was thinking, on the beach, if I had a year and a half, right? So like if you're like, oh, I find out the world's gonna end in a couple of days, you're gonna do stay hang out with your loved ones, drink, I don't know, fuck, whatever human people do.
Yeah.
I would regret not having enough time to like finish a thing.
Yeah.
But if it was like a year and a half, you're like, oh, I have a year and a half to finish my project. Why? Because I want to, because everyone's gonna die, but whatever. Uh, and then I stay awake at night thinking, what project would I finish with a year left to live? Uh, and that is the question I open this episode with to you. So you're like, oh
Huh.
man, we are vacationing on Australia. We're the last,
And some bombs done did go off, and
yeah,
we sure are doomed eventually,
right, right.
but not yet.
It's like there's not enough reason to freak out because we still got like a year and some change.
Mm.
See, I have to
Hmm.
assume that we've already edited American Curse. That's already
That
up there.
has to be done by that
Yeah,
point, right?
I,
Like,
because like also I don't want to spend the last year on Earth editing, so I'm just like,
yeah.
now we did it already. In this hypothetical universe, we've already finished the movie.
Yeah. God, I'd hope so by that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, hmm. I'd probably take up some kind of sculpture
Hmm.
and aim to make it so that once the whatever nuclear nonsense hits us, if it ends up being like another bomb or something that goes off,
Hmm.
it's going to cast a real fun shadow for no one to ever see.
Weird. We actually went in really opposite directions.
Really?
Um, so you would build some kind of sculpture that would leave this like permanent mark, even if no one ever saw it. Um, I would do, I would write and stage a play as something like finite so that it
Hmm.
would be gone forever, like people. completely different directions.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
weird. It feels like a
Th-
really weird place to open the episode. Welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning. The podcast takes award-winning worst pictures.
What's
I don't know what
happening?
my teeth got in the way of my tongue.
Oh yeah, true. They're not normally right in front of it.
They are, yeah. They're extra animated today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast takes award-winning worst pictures and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson, here to suffer alongside me, as always, is also host Joe Nealis.
Hey there.
Oh boy. Today it is my pleasure to present to you, our audience, with part one of DeRazzled's Topsy-Turvy Freaky Friday series. So throughout season 2, Joe has been hosting what we've dubbed Development Hell episodes.
A second
Uh,
unit.
Second unit dash Development Hell. We
Yeah,
have very long titles.
that's
For
true. We
episodes.
it's not it's a very nebulous thing.
Within those episodes, he talks about movies with a particularly troubled production that usually never come to fruition.
Yep.
Today, I'll be the hell who develops. That means that our next episode, Joe will be playing the Jamie Lee Curtis to my Lindsay Lohan.
Yes.
And host a good old traditional DeRazzled episode.
I'm glad I get to be Jamie Lee Curtis.
I did that specifically for you. I was like,
Thank you.
I'll bite the bullet.
You'll be the Lohan on this one.
Which, like, I'm feeling a little Lohan lately.
That's fair.
We had ourselves a little drinky drink hangout. What was that, Friday?
That was Friday, yeah.
And I had a great time.
It was a great time.
A
it was a very good time.
mess.
Just well, I mean, when you have that much beer, a bunch of mezcal and cigars.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the cigars. Yeah.
How'd you forget about the cigars?
The mezcal.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. The mezcal. I almost forgot about the mezcal.
Yeah. We ended up having a conversation, I believe, towards the end of that night about art and artists and the meaning of art, which
yes.
I don't remember, but we'll bring up later in the episode as though I do.
Sure.
Which brings us, doesn't really, but that brings us to today's episode.
I mean, in a way,
it's just as sad.
Sure.
We're going to cover every artist's nightmare. The movie Arabian Night, aka The Cobbler and the Princess, aka Richard Williams' unfinished, almost masterpiece, The Thief and the Cobbler.
Yes.
What did you know about this film?
Not a single thing. When you pitched this idea to me and you said, I want to talk about The Thief and the Cobbler, I went, great, what's that?
Wonderful. I had caught, I think it was actually the Miramax version on TV as a kid, like just playing some Sunday afternoon where nobody would catch it.
Nice.
And it was just a clip of the thief pole vaulting towards the golden spheres.
Yeah, a good scene,
which is great. I do remember there being monologue, so I'm pretty sure it was the Miramax version.
Okay,
but and then later in college, I found it was just like the animation's cool. I like to learn about that, and discovered at the time longest still in production movie of all time, which would be The Thief and the Cobbler. So there's a lot of history to it. It's baffling, real sad, and a bit existential.
All right, fuck me up. Let's go.
This is not normally something we would do for the second unit, but what do you think? This is also really difficult because like there are 4 versions of this movie,
right?
And the tomato meter doesn't differentiate.
Oh yeah, I guess it wouldn't, huh?
That's
a I wonder if that's something they should start doing. If they should have like different rating selections based on the cut.
You know,
because that would impact a lot of movies like Blade Runner.
I was thinking there's just several director's cuts that I like vastly changed the movie.
Yeah,
including this one. So mystery version, what would you say it has on the tomato meter?
It's tough. There's a lot of different things to weigh here, especially if it's not distinguishing between different versions. 'Cause I do know, based on something you just showed me before we started recording, that certain versions have voices for characters where other versions don't. Um, hmm, I'm gonna guess tomato meter critics 45?
Close. 56.
56.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was weighing on which side of that 50% I wanted to hit.
Yeah. Uh, Based on the numbers, I think they're probably going with the not Miramax cut.
Okay.
What would you say the audience score is?
Audience score. Hmm. Audiences are more forgiving typically. And I did talk to somebody else, my friend Andrew, about this
Mhm.
as well, because he is also a animation aficionado, and he was thrilled to hear that I had
No
watched
kidding.
this. He's very fond of the movie, even though he's never seen the version that I saw.
Ooh, we'll
Um,
talk about that.
yeah, um, I'm going to say that fondness carries over. I'm going to say a 70.
74.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
real
even
close.
better.
And then IMDb out of 10.
IMDb out of 10. IMDb is a fucking mystery. So
Generally a number I agree with too. I am also a bit of a mystery. Mezcal.
6.9.
7.1. Real close today.
Okay, I was
Yeah, yeah, doing
okay.
pretty good.
My joke answer was
Yeah.
close. Good.
So there are 4 versions of this film.
Right.
There is, and I'm going to go by release order
Okay.
or non-release order, by quote unquote finished order.
Okay.
So the first version is, this is a Richard Williams project. Like he was the constant throughout the entire process. So
Right. Right.
think of him. I mean, he is the director, but he's also uh, basically had his hand up everyone's ass using them as a muppet.
Richard Williams is to this as Phil Tippett is to Mad God.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So he has his bootleg version, which is what they had finished at the time, spoilers plus storyboards. Then there is the Fred Calvert version, which is, we'll get to it.
Okay.
And then there's the Miramax version. And then finally, and this is the version that I had you watch,
This is the recobbled
this is the
version.
recobbled version.
Yes.
Um, and that is something we'll also get to, but I highly recommend that version over the other 3.
Yeah, that's the version that I watched. I think you described it as a quote unquote fan edit, which I'm sure there's like further context to like
Quite a bit.
yeah. So that is the TLDR explanation of what this is.
Yes.
Uh and I enjoyed it thoroughly. If it was even maybe a bit bewildering at points. Uh
How did I describe it to you? Something like an art, like a historical document.
Yes, like as like an archival
Yeah.
project, more or less. Is it's kind of spliced together with storyboards and sketches and unfinished animation cells to kind of flesh particular scenes out
Yes.
in particular ways. And you would initially describe it to me as it being the closest to Richard Williams's original vision,
Correct.
or at least that's the intention behind the project.
Yes. So before we get into anything else, I'm going to give a really brief plot synopsis.
Sure.
And since this is because this is the second unit, I feel safe from the horses. They haven't found me here.
They don't know to look for you here,
Uh,
no, which worries me because now they're gonna start finding me
They're going to
here.
start sniffing around for you. Okay. So, 3 magical golden balls sit atop a minaret at the center of Golden City. There's a prophecy that, should they be removed, destruction and death will rain down upon the kingdom. Only the simplest soul with the smallest and simplest of things would be able to save Golden City when that happens. That would be Tack and his Tack.
Yes.
Tack is the titular cobbler.
Mhm.
The secondary, but only just barely secondary plot is led by a wily coyote type thief, um, who is nameless.
Just thief.
Just thief. Neither Tack or the thief speak in the most of the versions,
Mhm.
except for a single line at the end of the film from Tack.
Yes.
We follow Tack as he falls in love with the ineffectual Sultan's, I mean, the King's daughter, Yum Yum.
They really had to go and name her Yum Yum, just
Uh,
which is both. It's both really satisfying and deeply unsettling to hear Vincent Price as the Vizier say her
yeah,
name repeatedly,
yeah. The villain is voiced by Vincent Price.
which is great. Chef's kiss, moi.
He was specifically picked by Richard Williams because he had based the character Zigzag, which I'm about to talk about, off of two people he hated in real life.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
That's
So, but he
astounding.
loved Vincent Price, so he's like, I still have to make this fun for myself, so I'll cast Vincent Price as the voice.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great. Um, Yum Yum, not Jasmine, hoink, uh, falls in love with Tack, the street rat with a heart of gold and quick wits. Plotting against the king, Yum Yum and Tack is the royal grand vizier, which is sort of a royal advisor. In this case, the royal advisor with a pet bird that's mostly there for comic relief and physical abuse. It's fucking Aladdin.
Yeah,
It's
it
Aladdin.
really the parallels to Aladdin are so stark. It's kind of astounding. But again, you did mention one of the alternate titles for this was Arabian Nights, so that's not
We
surprising.
will unfortunately get to it.
Yes.
Tack accidentally interrupts Zigzag's admittedly dope, if repetitive, entrance and gets himself sentenced to death. But Yum Yum is instantly about this pale ass peasant boy, and saves him by saying that she needs her shoe cobbled. He cobbles that shoe. The thief steals that shoe, leading to a chase through an Escher esque palace thing. It's fantastic. Once retrieved and with the job done, Tack is tossed into prison where he makes friends with some mice. It's real cute.
Yeah.
The thief pole vaults his way to stealing the golden balls as King Nod learns of the approaching one-eyed army. Um,
He has like a prophetic dream. It freaks him the fuck out
he has a
in the
prophetic
recobbled
dream,
version.
and there's this great shot of I think it's meant to be like a neighboring village or town or whatever, that gets sacked by the one-eyed army.
Yeah.
And it's like a single dude who makes it out with like 16 arrows stuck in him, and he's like slow motion running across the desert at night with like the moon overhead. It's gorgeous. This movie is gorgeous.
It is. Yeah, no, the so many of of the sequences are just beautifully
Yeah,
animated and do such playful things. We'll get to it, I'm sure,
we'll
but
get to it. We'll get to it. So yeah, King Nod learns about the approaching one-eyed army. Seeing an opportunity, Zigzag has his bird steal the balls from the thief. Zigzag says he'll find them, wink, if Nod lets him marry Yum Yum, and the king was like, nah, no.
get fucked, you weird wiggly
Yeah,
incel.
basically, which is like kind of what I wish the Sultan had done in Aladdin.
Yeah,
He was hypnotized, but
he
still.
was hypnotized. Yeah, that snake staff is very convincing.
I guess he did. He was like, you? Yep, pervert. Uh, Zigzag takes rejection really well and with grace and defects to the one eyed army.
You know, that reasonable thing that everyone does.
They're also like, we're not having it. Go talk to our alligators if you survive
That's
them.
true.
Like,
Yeah,
fuck you.
he did try to just outright like have this guy eaten by alligators and be done with
Yeah.
him.
Like, yes, yes. Yum Yum and Tack head into the desert to search for a mythical not genie who is either a floating eye or a granny with saggy breasts, depending on the version you watch.
Yeah,
If there are no saggy breasts, you're watching the wrong version.
which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not going to be the first thing.
No. They run into a group of brigands who either sing and dance or don't sing and dance. And if you remember the singing and dancing, again, you watched the wrong version.
Yes.
I made Joe watch.
Jack made me watch the singing and dancing number right before we recorded. My God, that was terrible.
I I didn't make you watch the entirety of the worst version, just that one
Just
scene.
that one
Yeah.
scene, yeah, and I regret it.
With the witch, not genie's advice, the gang heads back to Golden City just in time to see the one-eyed's massive Susian war machine begin its
God, it's
assault.
so good.
It's really
It's
great.
so good.
Tack uses attack to set off a Rube Goldberg machine of destruction,
And it's so good.
which is also
I've
incredible.
I've always been a sucker for Rube Goldberg machines, so that sequence made me so happy.
And I've always been a sucker for like a protagonist that's completely oblivious to the danger that's around him. And
Yes.
like as the war machine is being decimated, the thief is just like walking around the destruction, like hands stretched out, trying to grab the ball that's like
Yeah.
just out of reach,
It,
like a
it's
cat.
yeah, it's like it's a reverse Wile E. Coyote because he's completely oblivious to what's about to happen to him, but he continuously just like serendipitously evades
Yeah.
certain death the entire time.
Including a point where he gets like thrown through a tower, and the tower, as it's falling apart, becomes an airplane,
Yeah, it's
airplane
amazing.
glider.
And he
Um,
just knows how to fly it.
the army is defeated. Zigzag is mauled by his chariot of alligators, which is the one time I think you should have gone with horses.
Oh, yeah.
And the balls are returned to the returned by the thief, who's just like fucking over it by that point. Yum Yum and Tack are married. Tack says "I love you" in a very deep, unsettling voice that says is credited to Sean Connery, but he actually didn't show up to record his one line.
That
So,
figures. Yeah,
which is
I
very
had
Sean
wondered.
Connery of him.
I had wondered about that because it would be extremely weird for him to come in and just do a single
Yeah,
line. Uh, so
I have a theory as to how we went from "I'll do the line" to "I won't do the line" later.
okay.
Uh, in truth, that line is recorded by one of Richard Williams's wife's friends.
Oh, okay. So
He was married 4 times.
he just had this particular wife just happened to have a very Connery-esque friend.
Yeah, with a unnervingly deep voice.
Yeah, somewhere between Connery and Christopher Lee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
There is a climax in the midst of that you did not mention though, and it
There's a
is
bunch I left out.
yeah, but I just feel the need to point this out because it really stood out to me watching the recobbled version. Um, so the leader of the One Eye Army is when we first meet him for real is sitting on a throne made of just like scantily clad thick women.
Yes, that's right.
And then in the end, when it's clear that he has lost, they turn on him and form a throne on top of him, so thus suffocate him to death with their thick butts. Just straight up smother him to death.
You're right. I should have included that.
It's an
very
important
good.
detail. I think everyone should be aware of it.
My favorite scene in the
It's
movie.
free on YouTube.
Yeah, no. All of the versions are on YouTube.
Yeah.
Different degrees of quality, but you're watching the recobbled version anyway, and that's the only place you can see it.
Yes.
There's a scene where the thief sneaks into the palace early on, and Princess Yum Yum goes to take a bath while her cobbler manservant is fixing her shoe.
Yeah.
And she has a back scratcher with gems embedded in it. And the thief steals it. And she's like, "Not a problem. I'm rich as shit."
Yeah, she's like, all right, I've got
Grabs
another one. So he
Which
steals
that one.
He steals that like immediately. Doesn't even like wait.
No.
He's just like, well, all right, yoink.
Then later, I think it's after he stole the golden balls, but then lost them, or something. He's caught stealing something.
He gets caught in the process of either getting away from that or stealing something else on the way out of the palace in the midst of all of that. So they do the thing that is the eye for an eye. You tried to steal, thus you get your hands chopped off thing. So he just sticks out the little back scratcher hands.
And the animation, and again, he's silent, so the animation of him screaming is just like a head shaking back roll.
Yeah, and
real
just
quick.
it's just his head shaking back and forth and some cacophonous horns.
And then he like crosses his not hands
and just like saunters off.
Like looks like sheepishly over his shoulder as he walks away.
Yeah, no one questions that he's not bleeding.
No. Oh God, what a movie. So why does this movie matter? In an interview, Richard Williams says why he did this, and he framed it as long ago, when a master had mastered his craft, he would create his masterpiece.
Sure.
And that's what he wanted to do with this. It didn't quite go as planned, but the amount of when you watch it, it is incomplete. But when you watch it, you can tell that the person who made this knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
If it had been finished, it would be taught in every class. Every animation class, every like film class.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it is still taught in
Yeah,
several of them, but yeah, like if it had actually been brought to fruition as Williams had wanted, this would live on as like as an absolute masterpiece, like like a household name.
I won't say it's some of the best animation in the world because there's quite a bit of Eastern animation that I've not watched.
Sure, yeah, that's
Um,
a reasonable thing to acknowledge.
but even though the pieces of like anime that I've watched that are considered these are some of the best, specifically hand drawn animation,
Yeah,
like Akira. This is a different style,
yeah,
but it's stupid how detailed it is. And I know we're doing a podcast on an animated movie, but hey, we do a podcast on live action movies all the time too.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's not a visual medium, but that's what other things are for. That's what again, it's on YouTube.
yeah,
Go check it out.
do not watch any of the trailers. They're all from the garbage version.
Of course,
So this story has fascinated me since college, and I'm really happy to have a chance to discuss it.
good.
Let's start by talking about Richard Williams's early life.
Sure, yeah. I
Um,
want to know as much as we can about this guy.
he's Canadian British.
Fun,
Yep.
exotic.
Born in 1933, March 19th. Is that a Pisces or an Aries?
I want to say that's
I
Pisces.
think he's one of my Piscean brothers.
Hmm.
Um, there are no connections between he and I and destruction of our lives over our art. He saw Snow White at the age of 5,
Neat.
which gave like changed his life.
It's like me in Star Wars.
He he used to draw little like basically flip books
Oh,
in school,
fun!
and his teacher would let him do it because he as long as it was a bird, because his teacher was like a bird aficionado.
Like a member of the Audubon
Yeah.
Society or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're paying attention, you're listening, and you're kind of paying attention, but as long as it's birds, I guess it's okay. So however, in 1958, nope, nope, cut that, skip ahead, wrong part of the script. There we go. We got to talk about Rembrandt first.
Gotta talk about Rembrandt.
Rembrandt. In 1953, he saw a Rembrandt in person, in, and it brought him to tears.
Oh,
And
that's a powerful reaction to art right there.
yeah, he dropped animation entirely. He went to he became a painter.
Oh,
Um,
huh.
for a minute
Uh,
until he uh
Until the paintings didn't move.
he's like, why is this one not moving? I'm
That's
shaking
weird.
it.
I'm
It's just not
shaking it.
doing
I'm
anything.
tilting it. It's
Um,
just
he let me quote him. Couldn't stand the idea of doing paintings for rich industrialists' wives. The whole art world was just repulsive as a way of life.
huh.
So he went back to animation. And in 1958, he released his first animated short called Little Island. It's cute. It's three little geometric shapes, kind of like bleep blooping on a little island. It's two-dimensional. Um, yeah,
Okay. So that's him just, like, dipping his toe in and putting himself out there.
yeah. And if you're looking at it as like, oh, this is a person's first work, it does not look like that. I remember going to, I think it was the Warhol, and they had an Alex Ross exhibit,
Mhm.
uh, and they had some of his like early work. Alex Ross, as a painter, does a lot of comic book work,
Right.
and you're looking at it's like this is his age 12 work. Same thing with Frank Frazetta. I'm like, I've never drawn as well as he has at the age of 7. Like gifted, which is a term I don't like, but
Yeah. It's a term that's got some baggage associated with it,
yeah,
but sure.
but I'm looking at Frank Frazetta's hand drawn 7-year-old drawing with like properly shaded and uh, the
No.
proportions are all right. And I'm like, I still draw the ears too big. But
I
that's
still have so
essentially,
many problems with hair. Good lord.
yeah. So that was Richard Williams with animation, essentially.
Okay.
Uh, so with this, I think he moves to England and starts like an animation studio. Uh, one of the one of the things the studio does, and they don't really do this too much anymore in films, but he does movie intros. So
Right, right. Yeah, that's definitely not something we see all that often now.
no, well, especially because there was a point where they had the entirety of the credits up front, and then there was like no credits in back.
Oh, wow.
Whereas like
Hmm.
now it's you have the big players, the actors, the director, whatever, up front, and then you have the full credits in the back.
Yes.
Um, where at that time, I think probably it was an issue with they just didn't credit everybody, so they could fit them all up front. It was still longer, but he did films. His big one was Charge of the Light Brigade, which is a movie I've not watched, but I did
I've
watch the.
heard of that.
Yeah, I've heard of like the famous historical event.
Yeah.
He did the animation for that. It looks pretty cool.
All right.
Uh,
Definitely have to look into that.
the one I did see prior to this project was his opening for the Pink Panther. I
Oh,
think it's Return of the Pink Panther he does.
okay.
And this guy just he couldn't make things easy for himself. He just
No,
refused.
I absolutely am not surprised by that.
So the the Pink Panther walks out on this black backdrop, does his little soft shoe, and then the little Clouseau character pokes up from a manhole, and the Pink Panther's on top of the manhole because Clouseau's Clouseau. And
Naturally, yeah.
when Clouseau looks left to right, they animate the Pink Panther. He has like a little dancing cane, and he's like sticking straight out. So he animates the cane so that it goes past the screen in what it would essentially be 3D.
Oh, so he has to like foreshorten it as it's going
Yes.
around like that. That
Yeah.
motion's really hard to capture.
Yeah. He did it.
Of- I
it,
want to know
it
how
looks real
how
cool.
fucking long that took.
That's an issue for him. The other one that's noted is What's New Pussycat, which it's just like all these fun 60s, 70s openings.
Outstanding.
Um, in 1971, he won the Academy Award for his short film adaptation of A Christmas Carol, which I did watch and I sent you a screenshot of, and it is
Oh, you
something.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he got the memo that it was like something that any like a child would watch.
No, that was
Because his
that Ghost of Marley was terrifying.
the and you didn't see you couldn't hear the screech,
No.
the moan, and then he of course included what is it? It's not greed and wand. It's like wand and something inside of the Ghost of Christmas Present opens up his robe, and there's this like gross little child. One's want, and the other one is I forget. But
Hmm.
they don't include it in most versions because it's creepy as fuck.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not even familiar with this idea.
The George C. Scott version had it, and like
Hmm.
I'd grown up on like the Mickey version,
Yeah.
and then the first time I watched the George C. Scott version, I was like, "What the fuck is this? Why, why there are emaciated children in this man's robe?"
Yeah, no, that's
And now I
that.
love it, and I don't like a version if it doesn't have it.
But what about the Muppet version?
Do they not have it?
No,
What's the point?
the Muppet
Oh, yeah.
version. It's the best version.
I'll just do a supercut. Um,
Just it's all Muppets, and then suddenly it's just these horrible things.
I don't think Pepe existed at that point, but I could see him being
Yeah, he was in it.
oh, was he?
Yeah, he's
Who was
palling
he?
around. He's palling around with Gonzo, who's pretending to be Charles Dickens the entire time. Oh wait, no, that was Rizzo. Never mind, wrong
Like, I
character.
feel like Pepe wouldn't show up to it
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I no, I just mixed up a rat with a shrimp. Let's just ignore it and move on.
They feel the same kind of.
Yeah, just
Anyway,
I was wrong. Don't tweet at me.
uh, I just told people that the Muppet Christmas Carol doesn't matter, so I think you're probably safe.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm gonna take all the flack there. So the entire time he's doing this business, he's getting recognized by people in the movie business. He's doing himself a little collection. He's collecting up all of the other master animators.
Oh, okay. He's forming a super team.
Yeah. So he gets Art Babbitt, who drew all of those fantastic Goofy shorts.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Grim Natwick, who did Betty
The
Boop, which is what I'm not super familiar with.
great name.
And then probably the reason that the thief looks like Wile E. Coyote is he gets Ken Harris, who did Wile E. Coyote.
That, oh my god, that tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a bunch. But these are people who had worked with Disney. These are like all of the studios that had like these are our key animators.
Yeah, you've
He's
got
like,
Disney, you've got Warner Brothers, you've got
yeah.
yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Okay.
So now we're going to go into the actual production part of The Thief and the Cobbler. So the entire time he's doing all this, he has been writing stories for this book called Nazardine.
Nazardine.
Yes.
Okay.
1964. This was for a book series by Idris Shah about a folk character, Nazardine. He wanted to develop it into a movie. The Shaw family and Paramount were like, that's a great idea, not knowing how he do things. So he's like, wonderful. I will now dedicate my entire life and several marriages to making this a reality.
Cool.
This went on for 10 years.
So this is hitting like Steven Spielberg, I'm fucking my movies levels of
Easily. There's
yeah.
I watched several documentaries and all of them have this one image of him at his house. Like he animated it at the studio, would go home, had his own animation studio in his house.
Of course he fucking did.
And there's his wife in like a chair reading a book nearby. And that's the only image of his wife.
Oh,
And that
God.
did not last. That was not a marriage that lasted. So in 1974, after having created over 3 hours of animated material, this is where it starts. It starts really real early. The fuckery.
3 hours of animated
Yeah.
material. That's so much.
So much.
Holy shit.
It was discovered that the producer, one of the Shaw family, I'm gonna say may, so I don't get sued, may have been embezzling money meant for the film, and the film was canceled.
Come on.
Worse, the family, the Shaw family, owned the rights to the character of Nazardine.
Yeah.
So that 3 hours of film,
He couldn't
he
even
couldn't
do
use. He
anything
couldn't do
with
anything
it.
with it. The only thing he got from it was they let him keep some of the background characters that he created. Just like funny, kind of like how in The Thief and the Cobbler, there's Buff Granny.
Yeah. No, I love Buff Granny. Yeah.
There's Princess Yum Yum has like a nurse, like an old woman.
Yeah.
And she's got giant fucking arms.
She looks like she's just like an average woman in like a black
They
shawl.
literally, like they draw her like shaking, like she's
Yeah,
old,
she's
with
very
arthritis.
frail. She's got giant Coke bottle glasses that Tack has to mend at one point. But as soon as someone crosses her, it's like out of an episode of SpongeBob or something. These big beefy arms emerge from underneath her cloak and just fuck shit up. It's so good.
She beats the hell out of the thief.
Like
Later,
in first scene.
Yeah, in
like,
the first scene.
Just, oh my god.
So like, but she was like a background character with like a couple of funny gags.
Okay. So he got to carry her over.
He had to carry the thief over.
Oh,
The thief was originally a background character in Nazardine.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that the Buff Granny was.
No. She's her own thing.
Okay.
She doesn't need no.
She don't need no help from no one.
No.
Except for maybe an optometrist. But
yeah, those are pretty thick glasses.
Yeah. I mean mood. But so he got to bring the thief in. Like that's a pre-existing character for him. Okay.
Like the way he looks in the final product is the way he looked when he was drawn for Nazardine.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Williams combined the character of the thief with another idea, and then a third idea. Let me try that again.
Sure.
So Williams combined the character of the thief with another idea, and the story became Tin Tack.
Tin Tack.
Yeah. They eventually obviously shortened it to Tack, but at that point, Tin Tack. This story goes through like 15 different title changes.
Sure.
So this is where Tack becomes the.
We've gone from Nazardine to Tin Tack.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And at this point, it has like no connection to Nazardine for legal purposes.
Right, he just flat out couldn't do that,
Yeah,
so you have to scrap everything that relates to that character specifically.
yeah. With that story, he and his company were ready to dive all in. They were all in to make this movie. But there was an economic recession that hit
What year is this?
mid 70s.
Mid 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about like Great Britain's economic recession. I know of the one in the United States.
Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot this is taking place in Britain. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I was going to say, like, US gas shortage
I
and
was thinking U.S.
whatnot,
gas
but
shortage,
yeah, but
electrical, but yeah.
yeah, no,
Um,
completely different circumstance. Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
it led to them basically having to take any job that was offered to them. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think he said he did like 200 commercials, or maybe over
Fuck.
200 commercials.
Good
Um,
Lord, man.
one of the like more notable, one of the more notable, one of the more notable pieces uh, was Raggedy Ann and Andy: A Musical Adventure from
Oh,
1977,
okay.
which I remember my mom having a Raggedy Andy doll. Um, it looks trippy as hell. I actually really wanted to watch it before we recorded this.
Mhm.
Didn't have time. It
Ah.
it looks like nightmare fuel, and that's just right up my alley.
Yeah, that's true.
This is animation that was meant for a child, but scares the hell out of them. I'm right there.
Fuck yes.
Uh, so they're working on these movies, these like projects that are not his.
Yeah.
These commercials that are not his. But the entire time, he's ruining his marriage by going home and working on this there, or he's like balancing where he's like one for you, one for me, assigning some animators to work on his movie, and others to do the commercials.
God, that's
Um,
so rough to have to like like on the one hand is like, you need to, pay attention to your marriage
yeah,
and make your marriage work and flourish. But then on the other hand, like you're in the middle of that bad an economic recession, you
yeah.
also have to do whatever the fuck you can to keep your household afloat. It's
And I can see why he was married 4 times. Like he's charming in his eccentricity.
sure.
Um,
But it takes a very particular kind of person to like stay a partner
yeah,
or especially to maintain a marriage with that level of eccentric.
yeah. Sorry, I'm just having some flashbacks. Um, I've gotten better. Okay, so I have a very understanding partner.
Yes.
Um, but uh, where were we? Oh, so the reason this took so long because we're already 10 years into this project.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, 'cause you said it's really started around 64.
Yes, I don't know animation terms super duper well, so I'll explain it in film terms,
Okay.
motion picture films. Um, when you're animating a project or animating a film, you're doing, I believe, 12 drawings per second
Something
at a
like
time.
that. Yeah.
He thought that was lazy.
Oh no.
So he did twice that. That's
Oh, he was going 24 frames per second.
yeah, which is, if you know your film, that's how many you do in a movie.
Yeah,
That's
that's real life
that's
film.
real life film. Um, I think the slang they were using is like doing it by the ones instead of doing it by the twos.
Okay.
So it's like every other one
Yeah.
or every one. Yeah,
Every
yeah.
one. There's no skips.
No, I think if you look at like or pre-computer cartoons, it's less than that. It's like less than 12. And then
Yeah.
you have like Disney quality. It's like I think 16 or something like that. I'm pulling this out of my ass. It's been so long since I've read about this stuff. But he's like, no, we're doing 24 drawings per. And like there's these clips of him standing over his animators and
With a bullwhip. Wait.
no, not literally a bullwhip. He was not fun to work for.
Oh boy.
He was people worked for him because they recognized he was, I don't use this term loosely, a genius,
Sure.
but he was also miserable to work for.
I mean, that tends to track for a lot of the people that get called geniuses from back
Yeah.
then. So
Yeah.
not surprised.
Yeah. So 24 drawings per second. Um, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's many.
So, but Williams realized that if he's going to demand this level of quality and he's seeing how much time it's taking to do this, he's splitting his time by doing commercials.
Yeah.
He needs financial backing,
Oh yeah, 100%.
um, which he was nervous to do because that always brings issues, and he's already been bit once by the Shaw family.
True. Yeah, I'd be a little gun shy at that point too.
But in 1978, he gets his first shot. Uh, bear with me as I pronounce his name, from the Saudi Arabian prince Mohammed bin Faisal Al Saud. He becomes interested in the project, and he provides $100,000 for a 10-minute test clip.
$100,000 or £100,000?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. 100,000 monies.
I think they, in the documentary at least, they said dollars,
Okay.
because that number doesn't stay that number for very long.
Mm.
So they decide, okay, we got this chunk of money, let's do the hardest scene, and that would be the Rube Goldberg scene at the end.
Sure. Yeah, I can't say I blame them for jumping right to the big
it's
deals there.
This will come back to bite him in the ass later, but every time he gets money, he does the hard shit. The hard shit, unfortunately, is not the plot shit.
No, it's not.
So Williams misses the deadline twice, and the 100,000 turns into $250,000, and for some reason the prince backs out. For, reasons. But they get this excellent scene out of it.
It's a fantastic fucking scene.
That, with a commercial that they did for Disney, it was like Disney and like Sunny D or something like that.
What the fuck?
And like the Disney commercials were even dumber when we were kids than they are now.
I mean, now they're just like absurd abstract art pieces,
right? Yeah,
like,
because nothing matters anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I was just thinking of that couch gag that I think it's Hertzfeld did.
Oh God,
where it becomes so deeply abstract.
Yeah, it gets weird.
It's
it
like
gets
a
real
squiggle
fucking
and a
weird.
zero, and it's like, I'm Bart. Howdy. I don't know. It's been forever. But yeah, it's like the Disney characters playing soccer and enjoying orange juice.
Yeah.
But what makes it unique is that it was the kids in the commercial are live action, and the Disney characters are animated. And it looks pretty good, especially for that time period.
Sure.
And Steven Spielberg saw not only the scene that they made for the prince, but also that commercial. And do you know what he wants to adapt?
What does he want to adapt?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So he goes to Williams and Williams' studio and says, listen, I saw your commercial. That live action mixed with animation normally looks like shit, but you guys made it look pretty cool. Will you do the movie? Because it's really the only way we're going to be able to do this movie is if you do it. And Williams is like, yeah, if you pay for me to make the cobbler.
Aha.
And they did, and Roger Rabbit was made, and Cobbler was financed, and everyone lived happily ever after at the end.
That's a short episode. Wow. Yeah.
Let's break for commercial, and when I guess we come back, I'll find something to talk about.
All right. Yeah, you're not gonna just drop a whole bunch of sad stuff on me out of nowhere. None of that was true, right?
Never do that.
Oh God.
I forgot to mention a denser script.
You had mentioned that to me the other day.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're, I think, halfway through it. Well, a little over half.
Oh, we're a little over half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we've been recording for a little while here, so yeah, I
I
guess
don't
that,
even want to look at it.
yeah, that's fine.
Don't tell me.
Okay.
Um.
Lindsay is watching Nope for the first time.
Ooh.
The line of wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men in the beginning made her screech.
I don't know that yet.
I have a copy of it.
I want to rewatch. I want to have a Jordan Peele night. I actually I want to
Yeah.
rewatch Us.
I need to get copies of I want to get the Blu-rays for Get Out and Us, because right now I just have that Redbox DVD copy of Get Out that I never returned. And I don't have a copy of Us currently. So yeah, I need those for my collection.
I just have to Get Out. Us is one that like I didn't quite understand the first time I watched it, but I think I watched it with you.
Yeah, we watched it when we lived together, I
And
think.
like I enjoyed it, but I was like, I'm not getting it all.
I liked it a lot. I didn't like it as much as Get Out.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah, really good.
Yeah, honestly.
My snobby nerd copy of Midsummer arrived today.
Oh yeah,
because I have like the regular bare bones Blu-ray, but the only way you can get the director's cut is directly through A24.
oh yeah, that figures.
Yeah, and it comes with it. It's really nice. It's this like bound book.
Oh,
And then you open up and there's like the Blu-ray, but then all the watercolor drawings that are throughout the movie
are also
are
in
this
there.
book. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
really,
so
really nice.
cool.
A
I love that.
little more expensive than I wanted, but
Like, how expensive?
like 50.
That's
It's not bad,
terrible.
no.
I like it's a good chunk of change, but it's not terrible. I mean, I'm
If
about to
I
drop
didn't-
$70 on fucking Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, so, and that's the regular version of the game.
That, yeah, I'm like, if I hadn't already bought the regular version of Midsummer, I probably wouldn't feel as silly.
Yeah, that's fair.
But then I am who I am, so I'm like, I actually like both versions for different reasons, so I want both versions.
No, this is very you. Yeah, that tracks.
Because I never watched the theatrical cut until I showed it to Belinda the other day. I'd only seen the director's cut.
Oh,
So I was like, oh, I can see why this works. But also the scene that they cut adds this and blah blah blah. And I'm a nerd. Can't wait for the 4.5, 5 hour director's cut of Beau is Afraid. I'll buy both versions.
Oh God.
Um,
Have you seen that yet?
no, I wanted to go Saturday after we drank, but I didn't get super hungover. I was just like, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not leaving the house.
Yeah, I
I'm
get
a
that.
potato. Oh, I think I did a mini movie marathon.
You did
That's
you
right.
did do your mini movie marathon. You did your Lolita and your Tenet, and
I did Tenet. I did Lolita, and then after that, I changed directions because I'm like,
oh,
I need my brain too hungover for this. I watched From Beyond.
From Beyond.
It's from the same dudes who did Reanimator.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's like it's horror, it's cheesy, it's gross, but it's fun.
Yeah, sure.
They have some very strange ideas of what BDSM is.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious. And then at that point, after watching 3 movies, I had no brains left. So I was like,
Yep.
you know what I'm going to try? You know what I've never seen? Bloodsport. Never seen Bloodsport.
Yeah, you went in a real different direction.
You know what movie I enjoyed the most out of that day?
Bloodsport.
Fucking Bloodsport.
That's amazing.
I've watched a movie by Christopher Nolan,
Yep.
Stanley Kubrick,
Yep.
and I think Stuart Gordon did From Beyond, who's like still an auteur, even if he's a gross one. But the movie I enjoyed the most was fucking Bloodsport, a movie that I've heard multiple times described as one of Donald Trump's favorites, although he has somebody stand by to fast forward through the non-kung fu parts. Which like there's not that much plot.
What? Just my brain. God, I've heard that he loves that movie. I did not hear the fast forward boy detail.
Yeah, it's not a dense plot, Don. You can sit through.
Eric, I need you to push the button.
Also, Forrest Whitaker's in it.
Fucking wonderful.
And like,
I love that man.
Every scene he's in, he's got like a cheese eating smile on. Like he's aware of how silly it is that he's there at all.
He's just
And
loving
he's
it.
just like thrilled to be on set. He's like, I'll tase you. And like his like he's a cop or like a fed or whatever. And his partner is like playing it dead straight. He's like,
So he gets so if his partner's playing it dead straight, he just gets to kind of go off the wall a bit then.
yeah, but like it's not in character. Like it's not written that way. And
It's
he
just him.
doesn't give a shit.
It's just him having fun.
He's just him having fun.
I love that for him.
It's like, God, of those 4 movies, I would probably watch Bloodsport again.
That's amazing.
Probably would not watch Lolita or Tenet.
I'm still curious about Tenet, even though everyone I've ever talked to about it is like, that was fucking incomprehensible.
I am mad that I agree with that. I don't want to, but I do. Because I wanted to like it.
It's like part of me is concerned. Like, what, like, if I watch this movie, if I don't get it, all right, fine. I'm same as the vast majority of people apparently, because no one fucking gets this movie. But what if I watch it and I'm like, oh no, that made perfect sense. Like, what the fuck's wrong with me then?
That's kind of how I felt with Inception, because people were like, I don't understand it. And like, that made perfect sense.
No, Inception was fine.
Right.
Inception's not that hard to
It's
understand.
it's really not.
That
I think what it is with Tenet is there were movies that I watched. I'm like, that was a vibe. Like, I'm not supposed to understand it. Like every movie by David Lynch,
Sure.
excluding The Straight Story,
Yeah.
is like, go with the vibe, go with the feel of it. There's plot, sure. Tenet feels like you're supposed to know what's going on, and you don't.
But you don't. Okay, so this is a needlessly obtuse, obscure movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you do watch it and figure it out, let me know, because I did not.
I mean, if I have to write a goddamn dissertation to figure this out, I swear to God.
Season 8, second hell.
So yeah, it's just every episode is another chapter of that dissertation, just until finally we have a masterclass on Tenet.
Okay, all right. Let's get back to Rod.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom first.
Sure.
Oh. Also, my back hurts so goddamn much. Oh.
I have some ibuprofen if you want.
Ooh. That was my hip.
Would you like some ibuprofen?
I probably would. I will take it whenever I get back up here, though. Oh, wow. Oh, cracked the shit out of my hip. Oh, my God. Ooh.
Switch you out with you. Please don't. think Joe may have died. Sorry, Instagram. Ah, you're reborn.
What?
Welcome back. Enjoy some sweet drugs.
First I need city butter.
When's the last time that you watched Roger Rabbit?
A couple of years ago, I want to say. I think Vince and I watched it with Becca and Emily, I think, and Becca and Emily had never seen it.
You scared the shit out of me as a kid. I love it. Specifically for the final scene where.
Oh my god.
God, it's frightening.
You know, Christopher Lloyd popped up as a villain in The Mandalorian.
No.
Yeah.
Is that towards the end of the season?
Later in the season, for sure. Yeah.
I think the next episode that we're watching is the one with Lizzo and Jack Black.
Neat. It's a fun episode.
Belinda's excited. Actually, Belinda just wants to see Lizzo. That's the only reason she's still watching it.
Lizzo's fun in it. I'm glad they got her to do that. Also, Jack Black.
Always.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Ready.
I am so excited to talk about this next part called bumping the lamp. How I talked about bumping the lamp. I'm bumping the mic. That's how excited I am about bumping the lamp.
No, you have not talked to me about bumping the lamp.
Good.
What?
Okay. So when I learned that Richard Williams' studio was behind the animation for Roger Rabbit,
yes,
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I was not surprised because it's stupidly meticulously animated.
Yes.
And should not exist. And honestly, the only reason another one doesn't exist, because it did really well.
Yeah.
Is Richard Williams said no. So like, well,
that's it.
That's it. He's I know I don't want. I'm gonna go work on my other movies, so like I can't do it. And they're like, well,
yes, this will never happen again.
Yeah, that's why they started looking into computer versions of Roger Rabbit,
and thus we have Space Jam.
Shit. So they had mixed live action animation before. It would look fine. It didn't look like you couldn't really suspend your disbelief in a way that like, oh, Tom and Jerry are occupying the same space as these other characters.
Yeah.
Because I think there was a movie with Tom and Jerry like back in the 60s, 70s.
I think you're right.
I vaguely remember Jerry doing like a tap dance number. But the camera had to be stationary. And so Spielberg produced Roger Rabbit, but Robert Zemeckis directed it.
Yes.
And Zemeckis was fully ready to keep the camera stationary every time that Roger or an animated character was on screen with Bob Hopkins.
But Williams is like, no.
No, he called the other animators lazy.
Yeah, it's all like coming a mile away.
Yeah. He's like, no, shoot it like a movie. I'll animate around it. Animators are lazy, which reminded me of the sequence in the Pink Panther where the Pink Panther's cane swings around. Like only you mad genius would. Because can you imagine how much traveling you have to do as a pencil artist? It's crazy.
So much.
Also, I'd never seen anytime Roger would interact with Eddie, they used this little like robotic arm.
Robotic arm?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks, you ever see Yeah, like anytime like a robotic arm that's just like does one task,
Sure, sure.
and
Like
then they would just draw over top of it. It looks ridiculous. Bob Hoskins was a treasure, and I miss him.
yeah, no, what an amazing actor.
So bumping the lamp. This has really nothing to do with our story, but I love it so much, and I can't see any other time that I'll be able to talk about it.
Please do then.
So
Yes.
there's a scene in Roger Rabbit where I forget what Christopher Lloyd's character's called.
The
The
judge.
judge, yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
forget the official judge name. I
yeah.
just yeah.
He and his weasels go into like a diner or something
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
for
yeah.
Roger. Um, and he and Eddie are hiding in the back room, and it's like a bunch of cardboard boxes and shit, and there's a single lamp hanging over top.
Yeah, like the one light. Yeah.
Yeah, and Roger freaks out,
Mhm.
right, as he do, runs around the room knocking shit over, and that was plenty. That was hard enough to animate.
Sure.
But then Williams was like, he bumped the lamp. And like, yeah. He's like, well, you have to animate, and it's swinging, like the lamp is swinging. So
Yeah.
now you have to change the shadow
Yep.
as it
Uh-huh.
goes
I god
back and
damn it.
forth over Roger.
You're just showing off now.
And the term specifically means you're showing off in a way that no one's going to notice except for you and maybe some other people in film. Uh,
But it makes for such an impressive visual
it is
moment.
like,
Like
even as a kid, I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm fully invested in this relationship between Roger and Eddie.
yeah.
And it's because it looks real, it feels real.
The fact that he went to such lengths to make damn sure that you were realizing them in the same space with the
Yeah.
same lighting with the same everything, that like it's what makes it work.
Yeah. It's why you have Tom and Jerry 2021, and I, besides just being terribly written,
Well, there's
um
that.
and acted, I don't believe there's a cartoon cat and mouse in the same space as these live action actors.
Well, I think we've talked about that one previously too, where that one's not even like about them and it's their
No.
movie. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that's neither here nor there.
So I'll talk some shit on Richard later, but uh
I mean, I imagine there is some room to do so with the way he conducts his business
yeah.
and
Um
marriages.
but that
Yeah,
just that,
yeah.
holy
The
shit.
fact that he pulled that fucking shot off, that whole sequence, stunning.
It reminds me of the prop master for the movie Seven
Mhm.
that went through and drew, like, wrote every one of those notebooks,
Oh God.
composition notebooks for the. I'm not going to spoil the movie, even though it's from the 90s.
Yeah,
But there's like a bunch of like serial killer written notebooks, and he went through and wrote like thousands of these for like 5 seconds on screen.
yeah,
And even I'm like, you've gone beyond being impressed, and I'm concerned.
yeah.
I'm
You
worried for
become
you now.
you become obsessive, and I'm a little worried about you,
Yeah,
but also nice, well done.
but also nice. Yeah, I'm sure Fincher was super happy to have
Yeah,
these things.
right.
Wonder if I could get one. Those are
Probably, yeah.
pretty sweet. So, with that Roger Rabbit money, Williams started to finish The Thief and the Cobbler. Roger Rabbit came out in 1988. He had till 1991 to finish it.
Okay, so we've got a deadline.
We've got a deadline. Um, and this is through Warner Brothers. And because Warner Brothers ain't no dummy, uh, they hire the completion bond company. And who they are is, if yeah, that face is that cringy face is right. If Williams does not meet his deadline when it comes, they will take the movie and finish it themselves.
Woof.
Because Warner Brothers is spending their money, they're going to
We're gonna get our movie.
get their movie. This is the worst paragraph of the script for me. As the deadline got closer, Williams did a storyboard for the remaining scenes. Joe, you've done a movie here and there.
Yeah.
When would you do a storyboard?
Pre-production.
That's correct.
Hey, Richard.
So, Rich, I've worked with artists like this, and I'm developing like ulcers and extra hernias right now,
Yeah,
thinking
that
about it.
makes me so nervous. Like, imagine for a moment that we had stopped in the middle of shooting American Curse, in the middle of those 2 weeks, to storyboard out how the rest of the movie
I'm
was going to
gonna
go.
have a nervous breakdown. Uh, so,
What if we were standing on that roof in Bloomfield shooting Knife Breaker the Bricketing and go, wait, hold on, Vince, stay frosty. We gotta
literally frosty.
we gotta storyboard out these last moments. Oh, good lord.
Yep. Um, Williams didn't like a script. He didn't like a storyboard. He liked to be there with the drawings, and it was worked out in his head.
Oh
And
man.
again, like we're falling back on that genius thing where it's like you only you would be able to have millions of drawings in your head and have it make sense to you.
See, this is the kind of fucking anxiety that makes me like afraid to finish projects on my own because I am legitimately worried I would turn into this.
Every project I do,
Mhm.
there are at least like 10 different like spreadsheets and documents behind it
Yeah,
so that I know like I because my memory is good but it's not great.
right, right.
Um I've written things that I found later. I'm like, I don't remember writing this ever. Who wrote this? Was that me? Um but I've worked with artists who are like, it's very restricting to have a script. And I'm like,
Shut up.
it's a guideline. It's a guideline.
Yeah, A, it can change. B, shut the fuck up. Just-
Like Kubrick on The Shining would rewrite the script every day, but he had the script
but yeah, the script.
and he was rewriting it like basically like polishing the next scene based upon how the previous scene had gone.
Okay, that sounds a little
Um,
bit less
Still
ridiculous. It's
stressful,
still very
but
stressful and a little fly by the seat of your pants, but also like flying by the seat of your pants with like a line attached.
yeah, there was a bit of a net, and also
Yeah,
he did every shot like 80 times, so he he
we
he was
we
able to
we
work it
I
out.
would say we know.
So it's at this point that Williams starts doing a storyboard as they're getting close to the deadline. I believe, and I have no evidence to back this up. I think he knew he wasn't going to make the deadline,
Okay.
and that the only way they were going to come and take his movie,
Uh huh.
and the only way he would be able to have anything resembling close to a finished film is if he had storyboards.
Hmm.
It was with these storyboards that he created his bootleg cut.
Okay.
But the thought that he's like, oh, as I mentioned earlier, they were doing all the hard stuff first.
Yeah. So you have like the gorgeous action sequences and the climactic moments, but
Yeah,
none of the connective tissue, none of the plot stuff.
yeah, and that's because every time he saw that one of those great actiony scenes were going well, he would like, ooh, let's add a little bit of this. Ooh, let's add a little bit of that.
Yeah, he starts gilding the lily a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, well, absolutely. Like I very much enjoyed the recobbled cut.
Yeah.
There was so much shit in there that I would cut.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, there were definitely there were scenes I
Yeah,
remember where it's just like this doesn't feel necessary. Like, we could really skip right past this, or this is lingering too long.
yeah.
Like,
There's a reason that the Miramax cut does make sense,
mhm.
like narratively, and it's 80 minutes long because there is a lot that can be cut.
Right, because the recobbled cut's like an hour 43,
Something
I
like
think.
that,
So
yeah,
like a little more than 100 minutes long.
yeah. Um, so on May 13th, 1992,
That'd be bad.
Warner Brothers said, "Hey, animators, Go on vacation. Take a break.
Oh no.
And they knew.
Yeah.
And they did. And I should, before I say this, I should mention that it then became, in that those like last couple of months, it became known that Aladdin was a thing.
Right. Yeah. As I say, they would have had to have known, right? They
Yeah.
have Disney connections.
So, as I mentioned before, Richard Williams, genius, bit of a tyrant,
Yeah.
loved to fire people.
Mm,
If you're an animator, there's only so many options as to where you can work.
yeah.
So people who had worked on The Thief and the Cobbler, and it's like 30-year work in progress, went to Disney.
Yep.
And if you watch The Cobbler and the Thief recobbled along with Aladdin, there are an uncomfortable amount of similarities.
Yeah. I picked up on that a little bit.
Um, Not saying you can't still enjoy Aladdin. It's great.
No, no, Aladdin's fun.
But I here's the thing. Richard Williams is so focused on like the prize, he didn't give a shit. He's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there's similarities. It doesn't matter. It's not drawn well enough. Um, Everyone else in the studio is freaking out, and they should have been because I believe, and again, no evidence to back this up. I believe that if Aladdin didn't exist
Mhm.
and it got closer and closer to that deadline, Warner Brothers would have looked at what was done and said, fuck you, but finish it. That's what I think would have happened.
Had Aladdin not been in the picture.
Correct.
Yeah.
Um, because it is so close to being a done like a finished product.
Right.
But Aladdin did happen, and it made gajillion dollars. And before it came out, they were trying to release The Thief and the Cobbler before Aladdin, which
Right. They
was a
wanted to
mistake.
they wanted to beat it to theaters.
Yeah, the thing is that like Aladdin has finished scenes, like all of its scenes are finished.
What?
Um, so we're back to May 13th, 1992. The studio's on vacation. Warner Brother sends in, or they back out of the film. The what is essentially an insurance company, the completion bond company, comes in and they seize the movie.
Yeah.
Um,
While everyone's on vacation and no one's there to defend it.
right.
Yeah.
They
They had fun storming the castle.
God, there's this scene in the documentary. I think it's called The Persistence of Vision, which is really confusing to Google because that is already a film term.
Sure. Of course it
Um,
is.
but it's a fun wordplay.
Yeah.
But it's the wrap party for the movie that they didn't finish. It's like a week after they got back from quote unquote vacation.
Yeah. AKA
It
anxiety stress tripped 1992.
God, and like you can see they're trying to like enjoy themselves, but oh my God, that's so stressful.
Yeah, that sucks. I hate all
Um,
of it.
and you can see like Richard Williams is just like completely dissociated.
Oh god.
Um, this the movie then falls under the Bond company headed by not Ed, Fred Calvert.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned him in the beginning.
Now he was vaguely aware of the process already because it's a it's a bond company. They're not gonna just like wait for the deadline. They're gonna send their stooge in to check it out.
Yeah, they're gonna have some knowledge up front so they can like bang this out.
I say stooge. I I don't want to shit on Fred Calvert too much because as he was going in to like check on these guys, he kind of went native a little bit.
Oh, really?
And
The Art Pinkerton almost
yeah,
turncoat.
yeah. He's like, this is really good. So when they seized the film, he volunteered to be in charge of it. So he's like, at least someone who kind of gives a shit will be in charge of it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he didn't know what the fuck he's doing, but at
Ugh.
least he cared.
That's that counts for something.
Yes.
I'll give him that.
Um, let's now move on to the release of the movie.
Sure.
Real quick sidebar.
Oh,
Before Fred Calvert took over the film, there was like a Hail Mary thrown.
oh,
Yeah. It was a terrible Hail Mary. Um, so one of the business people, I don't know whose side they were on where, but it was suggested that they bring in another filmmaker to kind of supervise Williams to like make sure it got done.
okay.
Would you like to guess which filmmaker they suggested?
Hmm. What filmmaker would they suggest for this?
I will tell you, they picked the very worst possible option, and the Bond company immediately said, "Fuck you, we're not stupid."
I'm at a loss.
Terry Gilliam.
No, are you fucking serious?
They're like, "We'll have Terry Gilliam come in. He'll supervise it. He'll kind of make sure that William stays on
And then
track."
everyone went, nah, no, 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 no,
And
no, hold on.
they're like,
Hold on a
"No,
minute.
we've heard of him before.
We know this guy.
It's 1992. We're we heard of Brazil."
We
Uh,
remember Munchausen.
so they unfortunately said, "No, thank you."
Sure. Oh, Terry.
Yeah. But that means that in some universe, Terry Gilliam oversaw the completion of the Thief and the Cobbler.
There is an alternate reality where that actually happened.
I
Absolutely.
would love to visit just so I could watch this movie.
Just
Um, God. So under the Fred Calvert cut, um, it was released, but only in South Africa and Australia.
what?
And it was the title for that release was The Princess and the Cobbler, which
Oh, okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a reasonable title considering they get together.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know why they picked those two markets and nowhere else, but they
Yeah.
did. Um, I'm unsure of because I did not watch this cut. I didn't want to. I don't, and I won't.
Yeah.
Uh, I made it through the Miramax version. I'm good.
That was enough.
Yeah. And I don't really see there being a reason to watch the bootleg if the recobbled is basically the bootleg, but with stuff fixed.
Sure, sure.
Um, it was either for this cut or the Miramax cut that they added 3 songs because they're like, it's the 90s.
Got to have a
It's an
musical
animated movie.
element.
Yeah. Um, what I find interesting is that they hired a different animation studio for each of the 3 songs, and you can tell.
Huh.
So you had the pleasure of watching the Brigand song.
Yeah, which is all about how if you don't go to school, you become a gang member, I guess.
Yeah, a stinky
A
gang
stinky
member.
gang
Yeah,
member. A
they were
stinky
pretty
gang
stinky.
member who can't do math or spell.
And has to survive off of shoes.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
and
that old
not in the fun
chestnut.
way. Not like
Not the fun way.
uh, one of so I showed you the worst one because of course I did.
Yeah.
The other 2 songs are very bland,
No.
but not as not as obnoxious, and 2, not as poorly drawn. In
Hmm.
fact, one of the 3 songs, and I did a double take when I saw this because I'm like, this doesn't look like it's that bad. Like the other 2 songs, you can tell clearly where they added shit in from other animation studios,
Yeah.
um, or recorded or made connective tissue. But one of the 3 was done by Don Bluth's company,
Ah, okay.
which I forget what it's called. It might just be the Don Bluth
I'm
Studio.
pretty sure it is just like Bluth animation or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Um, so like the song's stupid, but the animation doesn't look too bad. It's
Hmm.
still not as detailed as Williams, but it's not the eyesore that was 8 burly men drawn in chicken scratch. Uh, which if that was the whole movie, it'd be fine. But yeah, so that was released limited market. Not satisfied with destroying the movie enough, Miramax bought the rights to the US release,
Hmm.
which is perplexing because Miramax was owned by Disney that had released
Yeah,
Aladdin
that's
already.
weird. That's very
It's
weird.
very weird. It didn't pay off
No,
at
of
all.
course it didn't.
So they
Hell, maybe that was just by design.
I can't think of the reason why you would buy a movie. One, they bought it and then they changed it. They changed the title
Mhm.
from The Princess and the Cobbler to Arabian Night,
Right.
singular.
Singular.
Yeah.
There's no night. There's no night in this.
No, no, they
No.
well. So at the beginning of the Miramax version,
Uh-huh.
there's like a little narration that's like there were blah 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 number of Arabian Nights. This is the story of one of them. Apparently, that is tech. It's stupid.
No.
Yeah, it's correct response. So the most egregious thing that the Miramax company did was mostly to women, but in this movie,
See our previous
see our
episode.
previous episode, um, there are two characters in the film. Again, I've said they don't talk. They were specifically inspired by famous silent film actors like Charlie Chaplin,
Yeah.
Buster Keaton,
The parallels
Harold Lloyd.
the parallels incredibly obvious, especially given Tack's character design at the beginning of the film.
Yeah,
The way he's like practically just straight up black and white. Like
yeah, which
he-
is hilarious.
it's very funny. He is straight up European pale for like near albino white for a good portion of
Yeah,
the movie, and then starts getting more and more tan until he is like straight up like black
yeah,
by the but he is dark brown skin at
yeah.
the end of the movie. Like there's a journey here.
And like because it's Williams, it's so slowly progressing
Yep.
that like I mean, you would notice
You
it.
notice it, but it's also not jarring.
No, and it's because he's a cobbler, so he spends all of his time inside
Yep.
cobbling, and then he has to go out to the desert to find the knot genie.
Yeah.
He gets a little sunburned. Anyway, God, and there's just so he doesn't talk, but what he does have is he has like these two tacks in the corner of his mouth.
Right. So you kind of see like what's happening with his mouth through that most of the
Yeah.
time.
So they almost are like clock hands, where depending on his emotion, they'll change to either be a smile or a frown or like confused, whatever. It's
Yes.
really clever way of showing emotion.
Both like a cool character design choice and also yeah like very simple effective just display of emotion. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Weinstein saw that and they're like, well, that's nobody's gonna understand that. Let's have Matthew Broderick record nonstop monologue over top of the entire movie.
That's so stupid and such a waste of Matthew Broderick's time. Like
They did, I think it was they had Tony Collette revoice Yum Yum, which is like it could do
uh,
done works there.
yeah, sure. I mean, I
Um,
love Tony Collette, but
what I do like is that every single version of the film is like, let's not touch Vincent Price's performance. It's just too
don't you
good.
fucking
No,
dare. I'd be so mad.
I want to say it's technically his last film, but that's because it was released, so long after he passed.
Yeah.
Um, the other for the thief, they use two different actors. One in the Calvert cut, and then Jonathan Winters in the Miramax cut.
Right.
Who like I like his voice.
It was Eddie Carroll, I think we saw it was in the
Yes,
Calvert
yes.
cut.
There's absolutely no reason to have it. He just talks nonstop. I think they just sat Jonathan Winters down in a recording booth,
Just
played
riff.
the movie, and he just riffed the entire time because there's a lot of time he's just talking about like what's happening on screen.
Yeah. I remember you played a little bit of it for me. He was like just talking about the flies and when will these flies go away.
Yeah.
It's like that is the least interesting thing you can have anyone fucking do for a voiceover role.
Yeah.
Like stop it.
It's so lazy.
And the character just works so much better if he's silent. He's supposed to be roguish and secretive.
Yeah.
Like
I think, and this happened multiple times with Miramax, where they would buy either a foreign film or an art film, assume the audience wasn't smart enough to get it,
which
and then
is insulting.
which is insulting, and self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
As we've talked about.
As we've
before.
talked about. Yep.
And recut it so that it looked closer to basically Aladdin. He basically saw this and was like, let's just make it Aladdin because it is
Hey,
Aladdin.
Disney, you mind if we copy your homework?
Yeah, it's like Disney copied from them, and then they copied from Disney.
Oh,
It's
God, it was a
stupid.
copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah,
God damn it.
yeah. Uh, so that version, Arabian Night, was released in 510 theaters, where it grossed a total of, and I hate numbers,
I
$319,723.
didn't even break a million.
Would you like to know what the overall estimated budget was for the movie at this time?
You sure?
24 million.
Oh, God. Fuck.
Yeah. Hell of a investment there, Harvey.
Oh.
But here there's one more shit cherry on the shit pie.
Oh, my God. You just have to keep hurting me.
When the movie was finally released on DVD, would you like to guess how it was released?
Unceremoniously?
Incredibly so. In fact, in a box of Fruit Loops.
No, are you fucking kidding
It was
me?
the cereal box prize in a box of Fruit Loops.
So I just learned something
About Fruit
just
Loops?
yesterday. No, not about Fruit
Oh,
Loops.
they're pretty
Are
gross.
you familiar with the show Hey Arnold?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last season of Hey Arnold um got released on Nickelodeon in unceremonious, unannounced like drops. They're like 20 episodes released over the course of
Huh.
5 years.
That's so strange.
Because because they had a plan because the show was so fucking
Yeah.
popular that they were going to give the creator 2 opportunities for a movie, one for TV, one for theaters.
Sweet.
But Nickelodeon jumped the gun and decided to push the made for TV one to theaters. So it's
Oh,
not theater quality. It's not
right.
it's not as thorough or long of a story that you'd want to see from a theatrical
Right.
release. So it flops hard. And it flops so hard that they just abandon any support for the
That's
show at that
oh my
point.
god.
It's truly bizarre. And like they did eventually get to do that second movie,
Mhm.
but it was like years and years and years down the road releases like, hey, this is our nostalgic reboot or whatever.
Okay.
This cereal box bullshit is more insulting than that. Like, dear God.
It really is.
30 years of work released inside a fucking kids cereal.
And like the disc looks like somebody burnt it on their home computer.
Oh my God. Like, it didn't even have like artwork,
No,
like
well, it
decent
had a
artwork.
toucan on it, Toucan Sam, and then the logo Fruit Loops, and then the Arabian Nights logo was like half cut off.
My heart is breaking.
It
Holy shit. Like I
so
would oh God, the things I would want to do to Michael Eisner if I were him.
we'll get to that.
Oh God. It was Eisner at that point of time, right? I'm not getting my timeline.
I think that would still be the Weinsteins, which deserve whatever hatred you give them anyway.
I mean, yeah, but I'm thinking Disney level. But
Yes,
yeah,
right.
sure.
So because of this, and because of the entire thing, Richard Williams refused to discuss what was essentially his life's work
Yeah. Oh my
ever
God.
again.
Yeah. That holy fucking shit.
Even going so far as to not cooperate in the documentary The Persistence of Vision.
I
I read one place, I don't know if it's true, but I read he used to give like animation seminars.
sure.
Um, he would hire a bodyguard to remove anybody who tried to talk to him about. I don't know if that's true. I read it one place. It's not substantiated, but
Wow.
it wouldn't surprise me. And
Like
also wouldn't feel terribly unjustified.
oh man. I, I tyrannical practices or no, like right now I feel so fucking bad for like that, like to have something that you cared about that much, put that much fucking work and effort into, to have it ripped from your hands and then have your idea of it dropped unceremoniously into a fucking box of cereal.
So, with his life's work
Mhm.
behind him, he did the only thing he could, which was show his love of animation uh, through seminars, and specifically a series of books called The Animator's Survival Kit. And what that
Oh,
is you know how earlier I was telling you he basically collected these old masters,
yeah,
everything that he had learned from them, and they long dead at this point.
yeah,
Everything that he learned from them and everything he knew, he put into the Animator's Survival Kit.
fascinating.
Yeah. That book is still widely considered the like Bible of animation. It's taught anywhere you learn animation, you're gonna have that. Um, it wasn't the masterpiece he set out to make, but it has. I would say it's probably had more of an impact on animation as a whole than even the Thief and the Cobbler would
Yeah,
have.
it's. I mean, I'm glad that he at least got to like put his mark
Mhm.
on the industry, on the art at that level that it's just that like imagine if like like we're both like absurdly large fans of the Venture Brothers.
Incredibly so.
And the like if you're a fan of that show, you know, I mean, if you've been a fan of that show for like years, you know what it's like waiting for a season of that show to release. Because after like season 3 or 4, there were just these long gaps because it's literally two dudes with their heads so far up the ass of their own continuity, uh, working on this. And like, given they did like put the animation out to like studios to work on, but to actually get to that point, it took so fucking
Yeah.
long. And they did do a lot of in-house stuff to like mock up how things are going to look, and they did a lot of hand painted backgrounds and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. It's just there's so much fine tuning and like passion going into that project. If they didn't have somebody like Mike Lazo fighting for them at
Mm.
Adult Swim, while he did, you know, pretty noteworthily fuck over some other shows like Metalocalypse and whatnot, but just, you know, besides the point, like imagine if they had to send fucking Art Pinkertons in to deal with Jackson and Doc, like and
I don't
like
want to think about that. It
yeah,
makes me so sad.
yeah, seriously, that show is a fucking masterpiece of animation. Canceled too fucking soon, in my opinion. Looking forward to that movie. I can't wait to see the fucking movie this year.
I'm glad that it's having a conclusion of some sort.
Yes, I'm
It
glad. Yeah, they're getting that opportunity at least, but I want it to just keep going.
yeah.
Uh, but like the idea of like somebody from Cartoon Network or Warner Brothers or whoever coming in and just seizing their materials and
Yeah.
just like deciding for them what that's going to be, and then having it just fall into obscurity.
Man, you're not gonna like where this is headed.
I know.
I mean,
I have a feeling, I should say, but
um, one last note on the animator's survival kit.
yeah,
There have been like a number of notable animators who've said like, "Oh yeah, that taught me everything I know." So that's good.
sure.
That's nice.
I'm literally going to look up how much a copy is after we get done here.
Uh, as of 2013, it is available on iPad. It also, I think you can either get the book or you can get the 16 volume DVD box set.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'd
Um,
rather have the book,
yeah,
but
me too. Um,
16 volume. Jesus
yeah.
Christ. Did he hand animate that too?
Well, there's a logo. There's like a really lovely logo, and
Uh-huh.
it took 9 months to animate.
Yeah, that tracks. Okay. Yeah, not
So,
surprised.
um, Williams died of cancer in
Uh,
August of 2019 at his home in Bristol, England. He had been working on an animated feature called based on Lysistrata. It was never finished, but the prologue entitled "Prologue" was nominated for an Academy Award. Knowing that his film would never be finished, this Lysistrata,
Yeah.
he is quoted as saying, "It's the doing of it that matters. Do it for the love of it. That's all there is." So that's the end of Richard Williams' story. But the Thief and the Cobbler, we still have a little bit more to go.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Um, let's break for commercial so I can go throw up.
Sure. Fuck me, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was curious. Like this story has a nauseating effect on me. Like a visceral effect, and I didn't know if that was just going to be me or if other audiences or other people or you would find it as tragic as I do.
I mean, I find it specifically heartbreaking, and it is like existential level fear
Great.
for me.
Save that for Act 3 because that's when we get back. I'm basically going to talk about the recobbled cut, and then we'll talk about the existential dread. But first, I'm going to go pee.
Go pee and or vomit. Yeah, this one does not like me.
No, it's on its way out.
Yeah.
Is your back feeling any better?
My back isn't really the problem right now. It's mostly my hip, like my leg.
What were you doing?
Aging.
That's where you fucked up.
Oh.
My wrists have been killing me.
I've been having some of that too. Yeah.
I was really kind of hoping that Ghost in the Shell would become less science fiction-y as time went on.
No.
Not the scary parts, just the body replacement parts.
Yeah.
Although then the government already owns me, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, yeah.
Some sweet Bato eye implants.
Oh God. Oh.
But also, just new wrists.
Oh. Whew.
Maybe a new lower back would be nice.
I just whole spine.
Did you
Huh?
One, Antonio just joined the.
Antonio.
Did you fart? He said he heard fart noises.
No, that was my neck cracking.
Oh no, those are bones.
Yeah, just my spinal column.
I heard fart noises.
No, that was my neck cracking and the relief therein.
All right, ready for the final part?
I fucking guess.
It does get a little better,
Okay.
a teeny bit better.
Okay. Well, we'll see. There may be a thing I bring up that you're not going to enjoy that much, but
Fuck. I thought I was the only one bringing misery in this episode.
I remembered something. All right.
Oh shit! I was gonna bring up the Bugs Bunny episode or the Bugs Bunny movie.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes. The movie's initial release done. It's done. But people realized that they had something really special here, even if it was an incomplete project.
Yeah.
One of those people was Roy Disney.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that an actual Disney was going to get involved at this stage.
Yes. In the year 2000, Roy Disney started work on restoring the film.
Huh.
Remember earlier when we were talking about Michael Eisner and how you were going to hate him?
Yeah.
Well, here's how. So Michael Eisner famously ousted Roy Disney to take over.
Okay, so I directed my ire at Eisner too early. Okay,
Yeah,
so let's go back a little bit. We're gonna rewind the tape,
right?
and I'm gonna redirect that. Imagine the horrible things I would do to the Weinsteins specifically.
Yes.
And now later, and now the sequel I'm going to come after, and I'm going to John Wick the hell out of Michael Eisner.
I hear he's pretty big. You're gonna have to.
He's a big boy. That's true.
Boy.
Yeah. I'm not actually threatening Michael Eisner. Just for legal purposes.
Oh my god! He's like, I won't fight you, but I'll sue the shit out of you.
Yeah, no, let's not do that.
So he had no interest in restoring this project because why would he?
Yeah.
It reminds me of this Salvador Dali short that I think it was Roy Disney as well. There was Dali was going to collaborate with Walt on this short.
I vaguely remember hearing something about this.
Destino.
Yeah.
And Roy did actually. I think it was Roy. I might be wrong there, but it did eventually come out.
Oh, cool.
It's gorgeous. It's real short. It's weird because
Dali.
Dali.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I have never actually seen it.
Yeah, it's good. Didn't make them any money though, because why would it?
Yeah, of course not.
Similarly, this probably wouldn't make them any money, so why would Eisner have any interest in it?
Look, if people only did things because they make the money, we wouldn't be doing this podcast right now, and we also never would have done half of the movies we've made. And by half, I mean all.
I don't know if this is true or who even said it to me, but I remember hearing somewhere that none of Wes Anderson's films really make money. People just fund it because they're worth making.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Which is a vibe we'll get to soon.
Cool.
So Roy did eventually get brought back into the business. I think it was I don't know, but his efforts to restore the film ended when he died in 2009.
Of course, yeah. So,
the true restoration of this movie started in 2006, and this is with animator Garrett Gilchrist.
Yeah,
I'm actually not familiar with his personal work, just what he's worked on for the Thief and the Cobbler.
Okay.
He began to collect and restore the film according to Williams' original vision, based on the bootleg.
So is this what became the recobbled cut?
This is what became the recobbled cut.
Ah, okay.
Seeing what he was doing, he got support from other animators who worked on the actual film.
Oh.
When the movie was seized by whatever the bond company was, they threw away a bunch of shit.
Well, of course they fucking did.
The animators literally are pulling it out of the garbage to save it.
Good. Fucking good.
Yeah. And I want to say Fred Calvert did have some as well that he did not throw away.
I would hope. But like you said,
Um,
he actually did have
he
some
actually
love
did
for the
care,
project.
and he gave whatever he had to Gilchrist.
Good. Okay. Amend for being a fucking Art Pinkerton.
Yeah, yes. What a what a weird
Just
character. Which of those apostles was a dickhead?
Judas?
Oh yeah, I guess he was the other one, the one that eventually was. He was like a tax collector or
Oh,
something.
Nico.
Yeah,
No,
Nico.
I have
The
no idea.
Ugh.
I don't know. I don't know my Bible that
um,
well at this point.
that's what I imagine this Art Pinkerton being is. Anyway, cut this out. This is shit. So, uh, Gilchrist released every time he did like a significant amount of work on the film, he released a new version,
Sure.
calling it like Mark One, Mark Two, Mark Three.
Oh, that's why it's Mark 4
Yeah,
on YouTube currently. Okay.
I think when I originally heard about this and was watching it, I watched Mark Three.
Okay.
Um, in 2014, he released the latest cut, which is Mark Four. If you go and watch it now, that's the version you'll see.
Hmm.
I was curious to know if he was still working on it because it's at this point he's been working on it for so long that's like I imagine you've gotten all that you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Um, and he's restoring some of it just by like drawing it by hand himself.
Which is a
Um,
huge
oh my
undertaking.
god, yeah. But then I checked his
I'm guessing he has a blog or something.
he has a Facebook. He's not great with technology. Um,
Man of your own heart.
I don't know why in my head he was just like some young buck. But then I heard him talking like, oh, you were also like an old dude. Um, in February of this year,
Yeah.
he made a YouTube video basically saying like, "Hey, happy 10th anniversary ish, kinda, for the Mark IV.
Yeah, we're getting close.
He would like to release what he refers to as Mark 4.2 because it's not enough new material to release as like a Mark 5,
Sure.
but he does have some new material that he's been able to dig up, and would like the help of animate some professional animators to help implement it into the film.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
I did put a message on his on the YouTube page and what can us non-animators contribute, and have you considered like a Kickstarter fundraiser? Like it feels like that's the kind of project that could actually get some backing.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
no response yet, but
Please keep
again,
yeah.
I'm gonna keep on it, but also I don't think he's great with technology.
Yeah.
Um, but that kind of brings us back around to where we started, which is we've both watched the Recobbled cut at this
Yes.
point. It's available on YouTube. Please, please, please check it
Please
out.
watch it. Yes.
Even if you don't watch the whole film, I would specifically the scene that made me fall in love with this project, aside from just being drawn to tragedy, artistic tragedy, is the scene where Tack chases the thief through the palace in these like Escher-esque.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Um,
There's all these like geometric
mhm,
designs that they're running through that you think are just palatial decor
yeah,
and like throwbacks to like various art movements and whatnot. And then it
yeah,
turns out that they are moving through them dimensionally. It's
yeah.
just like they take all these unexpected twists and turns and pitfalls, and it's so fun.
There's one part where Tack's running um to the left. He does like a cartoon like skid stop and turn the other way.
Yep.
And the tiling behind him are these little pinwheels that are spinning in a circle. And then when he stops and goes the other way, they start to spin and go in the other direction.
Huh.
And I'm like, you didn't need to do this.
No.
There was no like it was impressive enough that you were drawing each of these bricks, but then you had to do this like extra flip book style animation at the bottom of these tiles that like unless you're really paying attention you're not going to see.
Right. Yeah, that is, oh my god.
It's wild shit, man. But as it exists right now, I think it's pretty watchable. I think I told you about um watching I forget what year it came out, but Metropolis, the silent film.
Yeah.
And there is not currently a 100% cut, 100% complete cut of it. There was a when I watched it in school, it was like 85% found.
Oh
So
wow.
there were like entire chunks where it's just like title card, character does this. And then for some reason there was a there was a cut found in Argentina of this
Hmm.
famously German film
Hmm.
from pre-Nazi Germany. Anyway,
Hmm.
because of that, well preserved, mysteriously found film canister in Argentina, we now have like a 99% finished film.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. Um, so I have like a I don't mind watching movies like that. It sucks that they don't have more of this done, but it's still very watchable.
It is, yeah, because it's not is you don't even get like the title card treatment like that. Like it's
No.
like we said in the beginning, like it's literally like sketch work and
Mhm.
storyboards and unfinished animation
Yeah.
cells and things like that. So it gets a little bit choppy because it becomes more like still images
Yeah.
applied. But there is even some like just like uncolored animation that gets thrown in as well.
Yeah.
Like it's not as jarring as it very well could have been.
I if I had watched the bootleg cut, I feel like that would have been probably a bit much
Yeah.
to get through. This is very watchable, uh, and I don't think we'll ever get a 100% finished version. I hope we do.
It would be amazing for that to happen.
I would,
I doubt it too, though. I mean,
especially once I heard Garrett Gilchrist. I'm like, oh, you were also an older dude.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
hey, maybe somebody picks up the torch after him, though. I mean, who
yeah,
knows?
and because he is still working on it, it is still considered to be the longest film
Mhm.
to still be in production
Yeah,
from 1964
to
till
now. That's
now.
literally like, we're coming up on 60 goddamn
Jesus
years.
Christ.
Like that's two mad gods.
That's two mad gods worth of work. Um, yeah. And that is where we stand with the Thief and the Cobbler as of right
Amazing.
now.
That is a heartbreaking, but also like twinkle of hope at the end there.
And Richard Williams did get to see one of them. He would have seen Mark either two or three
So
before he
okay, so he
passed. So
would
he
he
was able to see it and like didn't comment one way or the other on
I
it, which I don't blame him.
I'm sure he didn't, but I have to imagine that as bittersweet as it
Yeah,
might have been, there's still that hint of sweetness.
yeah,
That had to feel good to some extent.
yeah. Um, and it's not entirely unheard of for a movie. I mean, again, Metropolis, where you have a movie that's not completed for however many decades, and then it finally comes out in some kind of completed form. Um, there are other animated projects that have been lost to time, or I'm sure we'll do an episode on lost films at some point.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't think it'll be completed, but I have hope. Um, if you are somehow a person with a ton of money, give it to us. But if you don't give it to us, give it
Give it
to
to Gilchrist.
Gilchrist so he can finish uh, the Thief and Cobbler.
Yes.
And then to wrap up this episode, I would like to have an existential crisis with Joe.
I think that's probably going to be necessary because,
Uh,
as I mentioned while we were on break there, just the story of what the fuck happened to William's work there, uh, just
I titled this section "The Artist's Conundrum" or "How Jack Invented Patreon."
yeah, we did have that conversation while we were
We did.
drinking the other day.
We did.
I think Steve pointed out, like, yeah, you basically just invented Patreon.
Yeah, I think there's like a cracked sketch where they're like talking about, "Hey, we should do this and this and this and this and this. It'd be a fantastic show." And then they're like, "We just wrote The Wire."
Yeah.
I miss old cracked.
Yeah, me too.
Um, yeah. What was the incredibly upsetting, depressing thing you were going to tell me?
Oh yeah, so Speaking of animation kind of getting left in the dustbin,
Mm-hmm.
there's a project that got brought up in the midst of some Twitter discourse just recently.
Uh-huh.
Did you know that Sony Pictures had been working on a Medusa animated feature in the like the mid 2010s?
You know, not until 2 o'clock this afternoon
God damn it.
when I saw a clip of the animation.
Some of the there's a little bit of a pencil test that
Yeah,
James Baxter had done. um
I'm not familiar with James Baxter.
he's throw a dart at like a list of animated films from the past 20
He's worked
years.
on it.
He's probably worked on it. I know Kung Fu Panda
Okay.
jumps to mind, if I'm not mistaken. He's got a lot of
I
credits.
think I saw Adventure Time,
I
maybe.
believe he's done some Adventure Time, yes. um Actually, there's a character named James Baxter in Adventure Time, if I remember
The fuck?
correctly. Yeah, that's a whole episode. There's a whole episode about this character. I
Man,
forget. Watch Adventure Time. It's fun.
I need to. I don't. It
Yeah,
seems like a thing I would enjoy.
I'm way behind. Like, I've only seen like a small chunk of what's out from it, but from what I've heard, it gets real good the further you go in.
Nice.
Uh,
Um,
but but yeah, so that pencil test got put out on Twitter, and a lot of people were really fucking mad
yeah.
that we didn't get it. Do you know why people were particularly mad?
Why
Do you know what movie?
we got instead?
Yeah,
I don't know when this was supposed to come out, but
2017, Jack.
God, I don't know. Brave. I guess that would have been computer animated though.
Well, it did get replaced with a computer animation, Jack.
What?
What did we start this season with, Jack?
Shut the fuck up.
The Emoji Movie. It was the
No.
fucking Emoji Movie.
No. Why? Why would what the those are not those are not the same thought. Uh,
I know.
so, is this Sony?
Yeah, it was Sony.
Fuck you, Sony.
Yeah, it was fucking Sony. I'm sorry to hurt you this way, but also you just threw that entire episode at me. Oh,
You really reverse carded.
I kind of did. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make it better. You mentioned we were going to
Okay.
talk about the newly announced Bugs
Bugs
Bunny
Bunny,
movie.
yes.
I'm actually excited about this,
Okay.
and I have some reasons why. So, are you familiar with the YouTuber Patrick Willems?
Not off the top of my head.
He's a film YouTuber.
Okay.
He's done some thorough analysis about several films over several years. Recently even started like putting up videos about like, hey, here's how to talk about film and sound like you know what you're talking about. Here's how to make a movie.
Huh.
He actually just released a
Nice.
feature film of his own last year.
Really?
Yeah, pretty cool guy. He recently did recently did a video about Space Jam: A New Legacy, a movie we are
Mm-hmm.
inevitably going to be covering at some point
Mm-hmm.
because
We had to watch it.
we had to watch it, and
Might as well create some content out of it.
yeah, we have to get something out of that. 'Cause that movie still makes me so angry. But he talked about how not only that movie sucks, but how the original Space Jam is also awful. I
I
still
haven't rewatched it since my childhood, and I
I
don't
haven't
intend to.
I
'Cause
haven't
it'll
I haven't
probably suck.
rewatched it since college, and
Okay.
I was probably very drunk at the time.
Seems like the best way to rewatch
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
honestly. Um, so one of the fundamental things that he points out in these videos, or in this video, is that the one of the biggest reasons these movies are bad is they fundamentally misunderstand the Looney Tunes,
Okay.
because they make them chummy. They're all friends in a community, and it's like these are characters that have
No.
actively tried to shoot each other for decades.
Elmer Fudd's a piece of shit.
Elmer Fudd's a fucking hunter. He is actively trying to murder Bugs Bunny on a constant basis.
Which
He,
actually reminds me that might be why Roger Rabbit works so well. Is the tunes are competing against, especially the Warner Brothers and Disney tunes, are
Yeah,
constantly competing against each other.
the whole dueling
Dueling
pianos
pianos,
between
yeah,
Daffy and Donald, outstanding.
yeah.
Yeah, that kind of nature is like completely lost
Hmm.
in these movies. But Warner Brothers, despite several attempts to make uh uh Looney Tunes based television series
Yeah.
in the past couple decades, and just missing the mark entirely because they're making like typical sitcom fare,
Hmm.
Office spin-offs, which the Muppets also did on Disney, uh,
Yeah.
or not even spin like Office like homages or spoofs
Sure.
or whatever. Um, they have finally on HBO Max, or maybe it's rebranded to Max by the time you listen to this. Um,
Great comic book, by
yeah,
the way.
Max,
The Max.
the Max.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the
It's-
Max.
If you can, this is so far off. If you can find another animated great, the like '90s MTV, like I think it was the MTV Liquid something
Oh
something.
yeah. That's like,
Um,
like what Aeon Flux
yeah,
originally aired
Aeon
on.
Flux
Yeah.
was same block.
Mhm.
They did like a 20 episode The Max. Each episode was like 10
Oh, this
minutes.
sounds
Yeah,
vaguely familiar now.
incredibly dark.
Yeah.
Um, entertaining as all get out. It's a phrase
That's
I've never said
yeah.
till now. Thank you, The Max, and not Max, formerly HBO Max.
Yes.
Please go on.
So buried somewhere on HBO Max right now is a new series of Looney Tunes shorts
Mhm.
that are in the spirit of the old cartoons. Like it is the old antagonistic matchups of characters and and like that style of
Okay.
visual storytelling. Just with updated animation and like no and without guns. Like they find
Right.
ways
Yeah.
they find
Yeah.
ways to do it
I do
without guns this
recall.
time. Um, and I haven't watched them yet, but from what I've heard, they're actually good.
Shit, I'll watch them after we're done.
Yeah, and so if they're doing that
Mhm.
well, finally, and they've announced this movie, and it's specifically Bugs Bunny, not
Yeah.
Looney Tunes at large. That gives me a little bit of hope. Like maybe they've learned. Maybe they're actually going to lean in to what makes Bugs work as a feature character.
Resurrect or find the ghost of Chuck Jones
Oh my god.
and let him make a movie in the year of our Lord.
After you also resurrect the ghosts of Mel Blanc.
Yes, yeah.
Just
Find those two ghosts.
yes.
Um,
I was watching oh my god, it was a clip of Hank Azaria talking about Mel Blanc I saw recently where he's
okay.
just like a bunch of us in the Simpsons on the Simpsons cast were like trying to replicate what he does like um uh imitating a character in a character's voice because the whole like
Yeah, yeah,
rabbit
yeah.
season duck season episode
Mhm,
of Looney Tunes where he's voicing Bugs
mhm.
doing Daffy and Daffy doing Bugs. It's like that's so hard to
Yeah.
do. Like
I l-
that's the man was the man was a goddamn voice magician.
I love listening to masters of their field
Mhm.
talk about who they can
Yeah.
be.
Mhm.
Uh, wild.
Incredible. Yeah.
So let's bring this back down a little
Let's
bit.
bring it back down. Oh, okay, great. We're getting a little too happy and excited here. Let's
Yeah, but I'm completely for a live action animation mixed film with Bugs Bunny.
yeah, if they actually like are true to who Bugs is supposed to be as a character, great.
So, a couple things I want to talk about. We've kind of throughout talked about our feelings on what happened to the Thief and the Cobbler.
Yes.
Bad.
Bad, very bad.
Um,
That's it like I felt my heart sink into the pit of my stomach whenever you brought when you like oh god, I've never cried on stream before, and I felt like I could feel myself welling up. It was like holy shit.
when I watched the recobbled cut, there's a couple scenes where I'm like, oh, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, the artist conundrum.
Mm,
So he refused. Richard Williams refused to do anything but perfection,
yeah.
and because of that, the movie was never finished. The art was never finished. Part of me really hates to say this, but it feels a little bit like self sabotage.
Mm.
Um, like the equal parts of me are like, you're awesome. You're
Mhm.
awesome for dedicating yourself to this singular piece of art. the other half's like, you fucking idiot, why didn't you do a storyboard?
That one detail kills me.
Yeah,
Like the fact that he waited until it was too fucking
yeah.
late to finally do a storyboard. Like, bud, that's
And they have some of the people that were on his team in these interviews, and they're like, they're pissed.
yeah,
They're still pissed about it.
I'm sure.
Um,
That's infuriating. Like my dude, that feels like a rookie mistake. And you're not a rookie at that point.
I uh, I had this friend, Tyler. He drew this picture of Jack Nicholson from The Shining,
Okay.
because of course he did. Um,
Was it like him looking through like the axe hole in
yes,
the door?
yeah.
Okay, okay.
And I remember him telling me the story about how when his mom got it, I think laminated is the word I'm looking for. He had he had his own mental issues. He had a mental breakdown
Oh,
because
geez.
he could
So
no longer tweak it.
right, she wanted to preserve it, but he, in his eyes, it's not done.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because he'd been like tweaking it, tweaking it, tweaking it, tweaking it. Well, now he would no longer be able to.
yeah. Frozen in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no salvaging that. You're getting that out of the laminate at that point.
Yeah. I think what he was trying to convey versus what I took out of it, different things. There has to be a point, Mr. Lucas, where you let go of when the art is done.
Yeah,
If it's not,
I wasn't expecting to talk to George Lucas in this episode, but here we are.
you're I don't know. I don't know which side I fall on, because me, if I were to continue to work on, say, American Curse,
Yeah, forever and ever and ever.
yeah, part of me is like, what I would leave behind, that film I would leave behind would be this like crystallized perfection, or as close to perfect as I could get it. But also, I've deprived the world of how many knife pickers because I spent so much time on American Curse.
And you
Um,
got a lot of knife breakers
I've
in
got
the
a lot of
works.
knife breakers in me. Um, like, how many films did Richard Williams not get to work on? Or, I mean, he never completed a full feature film
Yeah.
because he was such a perfectionist.
Hmm.
Like, that's noble but stupid, but noble but
But stupid.
stupid. Uh,
It's repetitive and redundant, but
yeah,
also repetitive and redundant.
redundant. So what do you think? Because I don't know.
Man, I'm like gonna stare at myself in the mirror for a minute, because
Yeah,
that has been my biggest problem as an artistic person for years, is just a horrific perfectionist streak
yeah,
and a virulently negative inner critic.
yeah.
Like that, I beat myself up so fucking hard if I am not able to, like, one for one, get whatever's in my head out onto that
Which
page
is really,
exactly.
really
It's
hard.
so fucking hard to do. Like you see experienced artists sometimes say, like, no, if you have it in your head, you can put it down on the paper and just fine. It's like,
Eat
no,
my
you're
ass.
neglecting the, like, hours of work part to, like, get it done. And there's all the points in between there where it's real hideous and ugly and you haven't gotten it just right, and it kills your fucking soul for a little
Yeah,
while, until you finally start to break through and make some progress, and suddenly, no, you realize you're going in a different direction, and the picture in your head changes, and then you have to. It's a fucking nightmare. Art's fucking hard. Like,
there's this image that Scott and I will send to each other every once in a while, and it's about editing a film project,
yeah,
and it's like the way you feel about yourself, um, in the kind of secular process of, I this sucks, I suck, I should die.
yeah.
This is okay. This is kind of
This
awesome.
is kind of
This is
yeah, this
great.
is great.
And that no matter how many times you've worked on a film,
Mhm.
you always go through that process.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and you kind of get to a point where you have to, and this is said over, like, it's a cliche at this point, you have to trust the process. Where, we've been editing American Curse, and there are points where I'm like, this sucks. I suck.
yeah.
And triply so because I wrote it I directed it, and I acted in it.
Yeah, no, you did all of that. You did
Uh,
everything.
Not by choice. It was not entirely a masturbatory project.
No, that you stepped in out of necessity at the last minute to
Yeah.
fill a role. That is, yeah,
Um, but we're editing it, and I'm like, I feel like I should hate myself now, but I also know that like once we tighten the scene, once we color grade it, I don't know why, but like color grading it always makes me feel so much better
it's
about it.
such a it's such a noticeable
Yeah.
difference. There's something that makes all that work so much more tangible.
Yeah.
Whenever you see that new shot, essentially, like it makes it feel shiny and new. It's
Yeah.
like a new toy.
It goes from feeling like an amateur project to a somewhat professional project.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I polished
Yeah.
this. That feels like a culmination.
Uh, so that let's move on to the next part of feeling like shit,
Sure.
uh, or as I call it, free therapy. Um,
That's what podcasts are, right?
yeah. Honestly, I found that either podcasts are free therapy or an excuse to drink with your buds. Um,
Yeah, honestly,
and like
we've done both.
we've done both. Mostly, we've guested on drinking podcasts. I think if we try to drink on this podcast, our
Well, I
episode would
mean,
be like 6 hours long.
when we bring Caleb on and we do
That's
those,
true. We
yeah,
that's true. And those are fun.
those are fun. Yeah,
I look. Those are a once a season thing.
yeah. Not that I wasn't thinking about bringing the rest of that mezcal to this recording, but
I have a couple of those beers left. They're real good. I'm not gonna lie. All the mezcal was really good. I'd never had it before.
yeah, it's quite good.
It would be appropriate at this point in the podcast.
Yeah,
Um,
but anyway,
so there are individuals who've dedicated their entire lives to their art, and part of me's I one of like the through lines of this season is like Jack and his relationship with his art.
yeah,
Uh, and I've kind of reached there's a really rough point there, like right around like December, January, where I was just like not doing so
mhm,
hot.
yeah.
In general,
No,
but
you had a particularly rough
it was a
winter.
rough
Yeah,
fucking winter. Um,
I'm thrilled that you're on the other side of that now.
Me too.
Yeah,
That sucked. Um, so I've reached this existential point where I'm like, I've no longer is the end goal me becoming like famous from my art, which
yeah,
was never the point to begin with. It
sure,
was
sure.
just I want to be able to make a living off of my art. Well, I've downgraded my expectations uh, to instead of making my art well known to the greater population, um, finding the thing that makes me happy specifically while I was in undergrad.
Mhm.
And I was able to specifically write and direct my own plays.
Right, right.
And my therapist and I identified this very specific moment in time
Mhm.
where I was like the happiest of creating this art. And I had done this. I've talked about it before on the podcast about doing an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland that was titled Saving Alice.
Yes.
Um, and specifically, there was several times this happened where it was not an easy to understand show. It was never meant to be. Um, it was like talked about all of the shits that I had in my head,
Mhm.
and not in a terribly linear fashion,
Sure.
which people have tend to have a problem with.
It can be difficult for some folks.
So the show would let out, and the way the studio was set up, you had the main entrance, and then you had the classroom that was attached next door, and the
Mhm.
classroom is typically where like costume changes would occur.
Yeah.
And then there's a lobby right outside.
Yeah. I'm familiar with this space. I've actually done poetry readings in that
No,
space.
I love that space.
Yeah.
I miss it
Actually,
dearly.
I wrote a one act play that was performed in that space.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if I saw it.
Um, Possibly. It was directed by Ben Savory.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What was it called?
April 16th.
I'm asking you this like drugs have not erased that entire
Yeah, that's
time
fair.
period. I may have though. Actually, anyway, um, after the show would end, the actors, if they were good little actors, would go and remove their entire costume and makeup before they would go out to see the audience that was waiting for them in the lobby.
Right, right.
That was not a given. An audience did not always wait in the lobby for a post show. In fact, there were some shows that you ran away because you didn't want to have to face uh, the actors, or the
Yeah.
director, whatever. My shows, they always waited.
Huh.
The audience would come out, or the actors would come out. They would greet their audience. I never felt like the director should be out there during that time. That's the actor's time.
Hmm.
But I still wanted to feel that energy. So I would, like a creep, wait on the other side of the studio doors that were closed, and just hear the rumble, the audience talking, the energy that they're giving off. I'm able to hear, I'm able to feel through the wall. That was the reward for me for doing a show. Was feeling that audience's interaction. And there was also like points during the show, like, oh, they laughed at a joke that I wrote, or like, oh, they were scared at a scary thing I did
Sure.
or wrote. Um, that is the place I want to get back to. That's the drug high that I'm trying to recapture.
Yeah.
Um,
Just the appreciation of putting something on that impacts that, like, a small audience.
yeah, yeah. And I've been asking a number of my theater chums, some of whom
Yeah.
how big was the audience seating? And man, I have never gotten a more varied answer. And it's been some years, so I get it.
Yeah.
So I kind of averaged those numbers together and came up with the nice number 60, partially because I just like that number.
That's a good number. Yeah.
I don't like the number 50, but I like number 60. Why? Who the fuck knows?
You don't like the kind of 50s jib.
I don't. I don't know why I'm very, very, very strong opinion about that. So 60 is the number of people in my head. That is the number of people that I entertained.
Yeah.
And I was able to feel their energy, and they were able to appreciate what I was putting out. Even if they didn't always understand it, they were able to appreciate it. And we had talked about this on Friday after much drinking and cigar smoking,
Yeah.
and a little bit of gay cowboy.
Wait, what?
Or Orville Peck, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Remember
forgot we introduced you to Orville Peck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know I would like this, but I very much do.
I was like, gay cowboy. What was it? I don't remember there being a gay cowboy. Did we play a game? I don't remember what happened. Oh no, it was Orville Peck. Yeah.
Which I forgot the name of, and then Googled was like gay cowboy pop music, and it was like, oh, you mean Orville Peck?
Yeah. It was pretty good though. Yeah,
I know. And the music videos are great.
Yes.
He's got like a Johnny Bravo-esque doing an Elvis, kind of doing a Roy Orbison voice.
A little bit, yeah.
If you like blended all those voices together.
What a comparison.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyway, I said this to you guys. I was like, I want to find those 60 audience members. I want to add them up.
Yes.
Find them. And this is where I was like, Steve was like, you mean Patreon?
Yeah.
And I was like, close. It's not quite a perfect fit.
Okay.
Because I want there to be communion there. And I don't know that you quite get that. I think Patreon might be the place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be a good fit for this particular version of what I put out as an artist, which is the podcast.
Yeah.
It's almost built for that.
Well, yeah.
But I want to basically art vomit on people and have them eat it and be like, give me more.
Yeah.
And I will say, with pleasure. That's where I've landed after this year-long journey of hating myself, hating my art, not being able to call myself an artist, then calling myself an artist, but feeling sick about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like almost over that tummy ache. I still feel a little nauseated by it. And I'm also, and this is the final thing I'm going to say for this episode that's probably gone on way longer than it should have. I'll leave it up to you if you want to make it 1 part, 2 part.
It's probably going to be 1 part, but we'll see.
And what you chop out of it. Why? Why does this matter? Why is this important to me? Joe, You have to you have to answer this
I
giant existential
God damn
crisis
it,
that
man.
I'm assuming you've also had.
Yeah, it does make me like I do wonder because I it's been a very long time since I've had something that I felt happy enough to share outside of like our little writers group
Yeah.
or to submit anywhere.
Mm.
And like there's myriad reasons for that. There's my own sense of perfectionism, my own fucking inner critic fucking with me, and there's trauma from past relationships
Sure.
that were where like my artistic life was so intertwined with a lot of it. They're like, I don't feel like I can go back to certain things. Like I'll probably never perform poetry in Pittsburgh again. Just
That sucks.
yeah,
I'm gonna
because
go beat that person up that I will not name.
fuck them. It's fine.
I'm gonna yeet them into a black hole
uh,
and watch them stretch on into eternity, sucking the entire
I
time.
don't that sounds kind of satisfying, actually. But no, that's fine. Don't worry about it. No, not worth your time. Uh,
I can hate for the both of us.
yeah. I yeah, I want to get back to a point where I feel like I can do those things, and I feel
Mhm.
like I have something worthy of people's attention and people's time. And why do I want that?
Yeah.
Especially like when I look at like how people are treated who have that attention and have that platform, like there's it's I almost kind of get scared of like the parasocial aspects of it, like
Mhm.
the idea of like if I by some stretch of fucking wondrous luck create a thing that gains me some kind of an audience,
Oh yeah.
then how do I deal with the people who feel like they are entitled to my attention
Mhm.
and time, and how do I deal with the people who are just fucking haters
The
and just
internet can be incredibly toxic.
yes, good fucking lord, can it ever?
May the fourth be with you.
Yeah, right. I but like why I don't know if I have a satisfactory answer for like why I want that. And it's just like there is just something there's just something like deep down in like the very core of my being that makes me want to create. And in the world we live in, that is it is extremely difficult to do that without attaching it to the idea of consumption, with the idea of people taking it in and appreciating it
Yeah.
or throwing money at it or talking about it and starting discourse about it, like whatever. It's so fucking difficult to like decouple those ideas.
And that's something that like one of the last things that Richard Williams was quoted saying is like he didn't give a shit who watched it.
Yeah.
He was creating it to create it. And that's not something I've been able to separate.
Yeah, and it's like part of me wants to be there where it's just like, no, I'm doing this for me. Fuck everyone else. I will, I will do as I please. And the rest of me is like, what if it sucks? Like what if I
Yeah.
make it and I look at it and go, ah, fuck. Like, even before like I have somebody else read it, like I just read over what I just wrote. I'm like, oh, fucking hell! Why did I drink while doing this? Or was I drinking while doing this? This is a bunch of garbage, and I just tear it up and throw it away.
One of the things I really miss about the studio theater
Mhm.
is I would go and watch plays by, all kinds of artists, all
Yeah,
kinds of writers and directors. And there were plenty I fucking hated, but I appreciated them because the intent on most of them, because
yeah,
there were some that were just masturbatory.
well, sure, that's bound to happen.
It's undergrad.
Yeah,
They all wanted to create something that they were proud of.
mhm.
There were plays I watched where I'm like, this is not for me. This is not my thing. I'm not enjoying this, but I can appreciate where the writer, director, the actors are coming from. Um, there's plenty, especially like music. There's plenty of music where I'm like, I can tell you're talented, or I can tell that you tried really hard. I will never like what I've discovered is nightmare jazz. Uh, didn't know that existed. Not for me. Can appreciate it. I like both nightmares and I like jazz
Mhm.
together. Not so much. um, my and maybe there isn't an answer, maybe there's not a satisfying answer for this, but why did Richard Williams sacrifice 30-40 years of his life, several marriages? Why did he look at this piece of art and say that is important enough for me to? And you don't have to do that. There's
No, you don't
and
have to do that.
I don't. I'm not saying like, man, I wish I sure did, because I've had relationships that I've ruined because I've been like, nah, the art's far more important. And Scott's been a really good influence on me as far as like, one, safety is the most important thing.
Yeah,
Two,
yeah.
you got to finish it at some point. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be finished at some point.
It's like you have to. I want to say you have to remember, but sometimes you have to fucking teach yourself
And reteach
and
yourself.
reteach yourself. Perfect doesn't fucking exist.
No,
It's just
and
it's
your perfect might not be perfect to somebody else.
also that. Yeah, like it is all of everything. All of this shit is so thoroughly subjective that
Yeah,
like it.
I forget which of the South Park guys was talking about an episode they wrote that they're like, I don't, please do not air this. And like went home and was like, I'm going to kill myself before it airs. And then it turns out to be like one of the most popular episodes, of course. Like, why do we as meat puppets care enough about this thing that we're either willing to sacrifice relationships or our lives? Or I remember watching this interview with the director of photography. I think he worked with Tarantino, um, talking about like he knew he would be terrible to be in a relationship with, so he dedicated himself to the art. Which I'm like, good for you
uh,
for, I guess, knowing that you would screw a relationship.
yeah, like on the one hand, I guess like bravo on self awareness, but
Yeah,
also like holy fuck, dude.
yeah,
Like,
and I feel that's kind of where Williams is coming from, or
mhm,
came from,
yeah.
and probably should have been well like aware enough to know like maybe after the second marriage this isn't going to work out.
I like either that or like, man, maybe I need to dial it back and like reevaluate some of my priorities.
Maybe
Like,
we don't have to do 24 pictures per frame.
yeah, like maybe I can reevaluate what the threshold of lazy is in
Yeah,
terms of my artwork.
but at the same time, I just spent like however many hours gushing about how gorgeous his art is.
And it is. And that's the thing is like it's both impressive and sad in
Yeah,
some ways. Like
yeah,
because like the work is objectively an incredible achievement. Like the fact that he was able to produce images of that quality with fucking pencils and
yeah.
paint and markers and whatever else, like that is wild. Like,
He was able to look at a piece of paper, and there were there's a scene towards the end where the thief is on basically a roller coaster. He's like on a cart,
yeah,
and it like spins and comes closer to the camera and then goes away. And there are ways that he could have done that easier if he had the equipment that basically Disney had.
yeah.
He didn't, so he just did it in
So he
his
just
head.
did it in his head and then put it on fucking paper.
Yeah,
And that is so much time and effort
yeah.
and money and ah.
I mean, like the artist's eternal struggle is, man, if I had more money, this would be easier. If
Yeah.
he had more money, he could have hired more artists,
Mhm.
more animators to work for him, or he could have not been doing commercials about with
Yeah.
I forget what he did commercials for, but he did Ziggy cartoons.
He did Ziggy
I think
cartoons?
so. Yeah, I think he
Huh.
did a couple animated Ziggies,
Jesus.
which is not even a character I recognize, but
I could pick Ziggy out of a crowd.
I could probably do that. But that would
Yeah.
be it.
Yeah.
I
Uh
much prefer that Garfield.
you are a Garfield boy, that's
I
true.
am.
God. It
So I don't know that there's a satisfactory answer for this, but that's kind of where my head is right now. And I'm with our next season, there's a number of things I want to try
mhm,
that are stepping very much out of my comfort zone.
sure.
Um, I'm slowly, for better or worse, after the last couple of years of living where we do,
Mm,
giving less of a fuck about the greater audience and caring much more about the audience that's immediately in front of me, which is you right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
And possibly Antonio, and
Antonio,
possibly Emily Gray. Hi, Emily, if you're still here.
hi.
If you are, that's a Sisyphean feat for all the bullshit we've talked about. Um, like these are the people I care about entertaining
Yes.
and in general. Um, and I want to, having made it through this winter, um, both metaphorically and physically,
Mhm.
move forward as an artist with that in mind.
So it's the artistic equivalent of being present
Yeah,
in
yeah,
in
basically.
terms of your performance.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not that you're striving to achieve a larger audience or attract new people in. You're focusing in on the people you know are engaged.
Yeah, I spent so it's kind of a similar thing that Kevin Smith went through,
Yeah.
where he's like the the studio's trying to gather a larger audience, and that'd be fantastic if more people listen to our podcast or saw
Yeah.
my movies.
Yeah,
I would
and
love that.
I'm not saying that that we shouldn't want that,
No,
but
and
like I do agree, and I'm on the same page with you here that like just creating the best thing that that we can, so that like the audience of us and like our friends and immediate and the listeners we know we have,
yeah,
and just enjoy it and can engage.
I spent so much time during the first season running myself ragged trying to advertise this fucking thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And like we're still gonna advertise, and I think there's more we can do or a different way we can do it. But
more
the
so that.
more important thing for me is to make episodes that I'm proud of.
Yeah,
And I feel like we've done a much better job of that this season.
I think we've done a pretty damn good job.
And
Yeah,
there have been people that've gone back and found season one stuff, and
yeah.
they're really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, just recently, a bunch of people, or a couple of people, have gone
Yeah,
back and listened through like what seems like all of our episodes. So, like, if you're
which is
one of those
great.
new listeners of the past couple of weeks, thank you. Like, welcome. We're thrilled
Yeah.
to have you.
Um, I'm not gonna go the whole way into it because I do want to save it towards the latter end of our season, which we have two more episodes after this, or two more subjects after this.
Basically, yeah, yeah. We have
Um,
Assassin's Creed coming up next week,
and then Blonde.
and then Blonde. Well, I think there's a second unit in between there, but we have
I think that's it. This is it.
no,
No,
no. This is after Alan Smithy. Yeah,
I went looking for those files in my head and they weren't there.
yeah. That's fine.
It's on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, uh, just to tease a little bit because I don't want to wait till our last episode to give it away entirely,
Okay.
but because I want to be able to like get it in people's heads, say it over
Sure.
and over and over again.
Sure.
For our third season, instead of ending the season with our Razzie winner,
Yes.
which we will still cover, we'll still cover.
Oh
the
yeah,
Razzies,
no, we'll still do that thing. We have we have our grim duty.
we we want to push ourselves,
Yes,
both as artists and podcasters, um, and filmmakers.
and filmmakers. I was literally took the words out of my mouth there.
We're going to host a film festival,
Mhm.
and that film festival will be strictly for bad art.
Yes.
Inspired by an interview given by Willem Dafoe, in which he says that he wishes more people would intentionally make bad art for a number of reasons. One of those reasons being to make intentionally bad art frees you from the fear of making bad art.
Yeah, and it's definitely something I need to engage with more regularly.
The number of people we've told this to, because I was like, no one's going to go for this.
Literally everyone we've
Everyone's
talked
been
to
like,
about it has been like that
thank you.
rules.
Yeah, like they've been like, thank you for saying this. And I'm like, yeah, let's just have fun
Let's
and
just
make
have
bad
fun.
art.
Yeah, let's just fucking
Um,
get weird with it and have a good time.
so DeRazzled will be hosting a festival at the end of. I guess it's not even a tease anymore.
Yeah, I guess you're just fucking talking about it now.
I'm really excited for it. We're gonna host a short film festival.
Yes.
Where whether you are a filmmaker or not, or an artist or not, we're encouraging you to submit a film um, of bad art. You just went and you intended to make bad art and you made it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
just a short, just like 10 minutes
mhm.
max, and Probably goes without saying, but just to cover the bases, like
Right.
no racism, no sexism, no homophobia, no transphobia, no xenophobia. Like don't be a dick. Don't
Yeah.
be a dick about your short film. Just we're here to create stuff that people are going to enjoy
Yeah.
and that we can enjoy and just have fun and let loose with.
It uh from the date of which we air our final episode from this season 2, you will have a year to submit your project. I already have all the details written out. It'll be available on our website.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll have an episode dedicated to just like going into the minute details of what we're expecting and not expecting.
Yes. Absolutely.
Um, but mostly we want to, one, it's on theme for the show,
Yeah.
but I want to make art and I want to enjoy it.
Yes.
And I feel like this is a great way to engage with our friends and other filmmakers, our audience. Um, Anybody can be a filmmaker at this point. Most anybody. If you
Yeah.
have a phone, if you have a smartphone, you can probably make a film.
Yeah, especially if you've gotten one within the past, like a model that was made within the past few years, you probably have an impeccable fucking camera on that
Yeah,
thing. Like,
yeah. I
and there are easy to use mic attachments for them that are better than your onboard mic. Just
Yeah.
Five Below probably has some.
Honestly, yeah. I think we'll probably end up doing an episode on like here's some tips for making your shitty movie.
Yes.
Just so that like I really want to not just bring our filmmaking friends who do this or our podcasting friends who do this. Well, actually, yeah, I would love to have some podcasters that
Oh
have never
yeah.
made a film before. Make a film.
Make a film.
You'll have
Yep.
fun. You'll probably stress out a little bit.
Oh yeah. No, you'll definitely stress out a little bit. Like we do all the time.
Yeah. I haven't stopped stressing out since the age of 3.
Jesus Christ.
It was when I got my bike for Christmas. I was terrified. What am I gonna do with this monstrosity? It's like a mechanical horse.
Oh no.
It all goes back to that Christmas. I got an Ecto 1 and a bicycle.
Bicycle.
One of those things was great. The other one's terrifying. This has been a really enjoyable episode.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to a lot of cool things to come. Thank you for indulging this
Yes, absolutely.
weird obsession I've had with this movie for over a decade.
I mean, I will now be obsessed with it and be looking for updates about potential new recobbled versions.
And I think 4.2 will happen, and I'll keep our audience updated on that as well.
Hell yeah.
Would you like to play us out?
I would love to. Thank you so much, everybody, for checking this episode out. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed it. We hope that this little impromptu therapy session here at the end here was useful for you as I think it was for us. So if you enjoyed this, please rate, review the show everywhere you possibly can. iTunes, Facebook, wait. iTunes, Spotify, Good Pods, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts, please.
Sidewalk Chalk,
Smoke Signals, whatever you possibly think could help get more people in to check us out here. That would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Chaos Magic, Sigils.
Don't get irresponsible with it, but be very careful.
Pervert Magic.
Be very, very careful with pervert magic. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at DeRazzled Pod, Facebook at DeRazzled Podcast, Instagram and TikTok at DeRazzled_podcast, and you can email us at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com to suggest anything you'd like to see us cover in future seasons, or to inquire about the film festival, which, as we said, we'll have more details of in upcoming episodes.
If you're not careful, you can end up with penises for fingers.
It's less fun than it sounds.
It really is quite cumbersome.
I'm so angry. You should have come back next time, or we'll be sure to razzle dazzle you. Fuck.
I fire myself.
Oh God. I was not expecting that to be that long an episode. Holy shit.
How long was it?
Oh
my God.